I love that color scarf. Very nice.
No, I love that color. See, Barbie and I wear the fall color.
Is that what did your,
My
you
kids
call
did,
it? That's
Barbie.
what my kids said. That sounded like something you come to do.
Good evening and welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, March 13th, 2014. I was looking at the wrong one. If we could please rise and say our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we open the meeting, I did just want to take a moment to remember a Georgetown citizen who passed away unexpectedly on March 5th, Chris Rich. Chris was a citizen of Georgetown, very proud citizen and a supporter of the community as well as the schools. So I just wanted to extend my sympathy to the family. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes approval of special budget session minutes of February 6th, 2014, public hearing minutes of February 27th, 2014, regular session minutes of February 27th, 2014, and acceptance of warrants 37V14 and 38P14.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Hi, Mary Beth.
Hi.
Welcome.
So sorry that I had to miss the last meeting, but apparently it paid off because Drama Fest,
Yeah.
we're the first Drama Fest Georgetown to ever move on to semifinals. So that is Saturday in Duxbury, so we're doing
Wow,
that. So
That's great.
very exciting, very proud of that. I just had the show, we just had an open rehearsal, so if I have any stage makeup on, that's why. Sports signups were last week, right? So that's pretty exciting. Everyone around the school is hitting the gyms, getting excited about new sports season coming up. Middle school play just started. I'm directing that. That started just Tuesday. So the shows for that are April 11th and 12th. So you all should come.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Scott, my good friend.
What's the name of the play?
This year it's 1 in a Million.
1 in a Million.
Yeah, last year I wrote it and directed it, but this year I purchased it and
Okay.
I'm directing it. Didn't have time to write it
You
this year.
slacked this year?
Yeah, I slacked.
She's only a senior, so.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it at the school. Everyone's just getting ready for the new sports season and Drama Fest Saturday and new middle school play.
And the
That's
big
a lot.
frolic tomorrow night.
Oh my
correct?
gosh! Yeah, big frolic
Yeah,
tomorrow.
the Grand
Everyone's
March is at
exciting.
5, right?
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah, yeah.
Students should be there at 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, I
My
love that
last
every
one
year.
ever. Wow.
Wish the weather was nicer for you, but
I
that's
know.
all right. It'll
Well,
still
I think
be nice.
tomorrow's
in
gonna be,
I know,
pretty
but I
good.
think they're probably still gonna need to go be inside,
Yeah, 'cause
whereas
it's
like
so-
in the
it's gonna be
prom, they
so
can be
cold.
outside.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone has the short dresses.
Yeah.
So.
I know.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Good.
Very fun.
Thank you. And that's great about the drama.
Yeah,
The
it
Drama
was
Fest, that's
really,
really
really
fun.
exciting.
That was at Ipswich? Where did you
No,
go
last
last?
year was at Ipswich. Last week was Marblehead.
Okay.
Or 2 weeks ago was Marblehead.
And
but
now
yeah,
Duxbury, that's a
Duxbury,
hike.
Yeah, the
And so how
the
many
tracks
kids are involved?
There's about 30 kids,
Wow.
like 10 actors, about maybe like 15 crew. Yeah, so it's not too big, but not too small either. So it's a lot of us, and we were all really, really proud to win because Ms. Dunedin, our director, she was involved in Drama Fest when she went to high school at Georgetown,
Yeah.
and it was there for 4 years before her and 4 years after, and they had never moved on. So it was really, really exciting. For us
I think
to
we
move
put
on.
some information on our Facebook page about it, and I know I wrote about it on my blog. So, you know,
That's
we're
great.
all very proud.
Yeah, it was great.
It's very exciting for all
We're
of
gonna
you.
be honored to be with such
Oh,
great
yeah.
schools on Saturday.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna be, we're gonna get blown away. They're beautiful. Their theater is beautiful. The plays are gonna be beautiful. I'm really excited.
There was also a great high school concert last night.
Oh right! Oh my gosh!
Tuesday
I was
night, yeah.
Which was terrific.
Yeah.
It was.
And Mrs. Laflamme announced there's a couple of students who are going to go to, is it
All States.
All States.
Yeah, which is a really, really big deal. It's Jackie Claveau,
Oh, yeah.
Michael Kelly,
Michael
and then David Shane.
Yes.
They're all amazing singers, and
Yes.
All States is a huge honor for them.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna go see them perform. I'm not sure when it is, but yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
good.
And they're from the high school chorale.
which is
Well, David and
Or
yeah,
The band or?
David's
yeah,
in the
David's
band.
from the band,
Yeah.
but he's actually singing, so he's
Yeah.
he's really talented. So he can
His
he's a
mom
band
has-
member
his
and
mom
singer.
has a beautiful voice as well.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll be going on, and it's first senior districts, and then from senior districts you have another audition to see if you're good enough for all states, and those three
Made
it's- Yeah, it's amazing that we got 3 students from Georgetown.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Well,
it says a lot
The
about
choral
our school.
program is an amazing
Yeah,
program too.
it's
I mean,
great.
Laura does a phenomenal job.
Right.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Good.
It's always a pleasure.
It's a busy time of year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, is there anyone here from the public that would like to make any comments on the agenda? Okay. Then we have Mr. Justin Spur here from the baseball.
Hey, Justin, program.
How you doing?
Good. Good. Maybe there'll be spring at some point here where you
know,
don't have to
baseball
worry
means
about
spring.
snow and mud and
Yeah.
rocky weather.
We'll have a volunteer day to snow blow the field off, and maybe we'll be playing by May. Who knows?
I know, crazy.
Yep. So, I'm in front of you on behalf of the Georgetown Baseball Alumni Association. I was a alumni I am an alumni
I am,
from Georgetown High School, and I started this to try and get some more alumni involved. We're looking into an alumni game to kick off the Spofford tournament this year, so the word's been passed around to some alumni that I know to try and get a game to really kick off that weekend
be
tournament.
great.
So,
Now, when you do an alumni game like that,
Yep.
do you just ask for any alumni regardless, or do you do like age groups? Like, so it's
Well-
not like,
Make
so.
sure nobody gets
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah, we'll try and mimic what the basketball alumni used to do. Is even years would play together and odd years would play together, unless there's some lopsided.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
We'll kind of
Yeah.
pick
They used to
names.
do that for hockey when my boys played. and
Yeah,
People
they
got hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
even though there was no checking, it was not pretty.
Yeah, you should have seen the football ones here. That was, very
I can
interesting.
imagine. Touch football can get a little rough, right?
Yeah, no, we played tackle.
When you're 50.
We played tackle. But so last year through the high school, we ran a fundraiser. A company called Adrenaline. They actually handle everything. They solicit all restaurants and I think it was Dick's Sporting Goods and
Yeah, wow.
Sports Authority and golf courses. So it was a great success last year with the high school, and we raised a ton of money. We just put up an indoor batting cage, which is going to be great this year for both baseball and softball. It's located in the small gym. It comes down every day after practice, and once we get the hang of it, it should only take us less than 5 minutes to set up. So right now we're at about
I didn't either.
it's like 7 to 10 minutes to set it up, and we're just working out the kinks and trying to figure out the right way to get it up. But it's all cable and supported, and that fundraiser right there raised the money for it, along with improvements to the grounds and the facility. So this year we'd like to run it through the alumni, just to handle some expenses, that we feel that we need to really have a better turnout for the Spofford tournament. The alumni is going to take over the Spofford tournament from Georgetown baseball this year. And I've been in communications with Mr. DeFranco administration and the guidance office. We'd also like to try and set up a scholarship to every graduating senior that plays baseball, not just one.
Wow.
Because we feel like the parents do a lot of fundraising, and we'd like to, give back. And with the grill that we have at the Spofford tournament and the fundraisers that we do, we'd like to set aside and pool some money together. And if we have 4 seniors and we have $2,000, each senior would get $500. So
that's
we
great.
split it evenly. And they would have to be in the program a certain amount of years, and they have to graduate from Georgetown High School as well. So, but you know, we need to upgrade our batting helmets this year, so, the alumni would like to purchase new batting helmets this year. It's gonna be very difficult to get on the fields in a timely manner. So, we'd also like to purchase the amount of turfis, which is a drying mechanism that we put into the clay. It's very expensive.
And stock in the company.
Yeah.
Football field.
Yeah, yeah.
Kidding, but not really.
But this company is great. We run it in 10 days. They've agreed, as long as it is approved tonight, they would come in on the 18th, and on the 28th, we'd do a blitz through the town, and they have prizes for the kids. Under Armour gear that they can wear under their uniforms and sweatshirts that all say Georgetown baseball on it. Last year, I believe we raised $8,400 in 10 days with this fundraiser.
Pretty great.
So,
That's good. So how much does somebody pay for
yeah,
this, remember?
so it's $20.
Oh, that's not bad. Oh, yeah,
And-
$20, right.
Yep, and, I believe with 2 of those, I think there's 8 or 10 cards there.
Yeah.
With 2 of them, you actually get your money back. With 1 golf pass, you get your money back for that whole card. So we'd just like permission to run that, with the high school program. And majority of that money will be going back to the school grounds and, facilities as well.
So each of the players will be responsible for selling so many?
Well, it's up to them. We don't pressure them to sell any if they don't want to. If they sell a certain amount, they receive a sweatshirt. If they sell a certain amount, they receive a sweatshirt and an Under Armour shirt. And then the next step, I believe Dave Ingraham sold the most last year. He got what would have been a sweatshirt, Under Armour, and headphones. $125 pair of headphones.
So nobody gets punished, you just incentivize
Yeah.
them to.
That's it. You know, we just ask that they help us because they're gonna reap the benefits. You know, yeah, and it shows. We have a $3,000 indoor batting cage now that the school has never had.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
and we've also we never asked a penny from the softball program, but we've offered to set it up and let them use it, and they can use it whenever they want. So it's just building up the sports program and developing a program that we need in town. You know, and there was some things that we feel like we're lacking. So we're doing some improvements to the grounds of the varsity field to accommodate for the JV and varsity practicing together with the potential loss of the football
Yeah.
JV field. So we need to be able to take some of this money, and it's just it's a crunch. So to run this fundraiser through the school system and have POs go through, sometimes we don't have the time to get the product. So we felt this year would probably be one of the only years we would run this fundraiser outside of the school. But we know with the time to get the PO through and everything, sometimes we just need the product right away, especially with the field maintenance. So there's gonna be some challenges this year with JV and varsity practicing together.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's gonna be.
so that's pretty much why we've asked to do it through the alumni this year. And I've been in talks with Mr. DeFranco about it and told him everything where the money would be spent, so he knows where the money's going as well, so.
Excellent.
Oh, that's good. I
So-
loved the card.
Is there an online way to purchase one of those tickets?
Yeah, you can contact the school, Mr. DeFranco. We can leave some in the front office. We could leave some in the superintendent's office. You know, they.
Yeah, I was wondering like if maybe on the website, you know, someone could click and pay for it on the website, get a ticket back and give it
Yeah,
to.
well, that would have to be run through the school, I think, if we did that.
Yeah, I'm not
so-
sure, I mean, we do have a system.
On the
that
GAA website.
Well, we have a system that obviously runs the school lunch, you know, you can online pay there. I don't know, we should ask,
But it's a
Peter's
GAA
there at
fundraiser,
the,
right?
parent conferences at the high school tonight, that's why he's not here. But if he were here, we could ask him, because there may be a way that people can pay for fees that they owe online
GAA.
and all that, so Is it,
This
is
is
it,
for Georgetown.
it's
a
not the
baseball
just the
alumni.
varsity coach.
but you know what,
Yeah.
I'll write a note to check with Peter on
Well,
that.
the thing is, each player in the program, so
Okay.
that there potentially is.
I
That's okay.
apologize.
No problem.
Well, we
No
know you have a
problem. This
little
is-
one, I know you're a coach for GAA too, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
and I'm on the
So
board
I-
of GAA
yeah.
as well, you know,
I'm
it's just
sorry.
building the program.
Okay,
But,
got it.
but every program, we potentially have 36 potential baseball players coming out, you know,
Okay.
based on the numbers that we have. Each of those players will be selling them, probably their parents more than them, but.
No, you know what's interesting is one of my neighbors was a player last year, and he walked, you know, door to door, which
Yes.
he's old enough now that, and
Yep.
I just thought it was so great, because I'm friends with his mom.
Yep.
I thought for sure he'd just have his mom ask me, but no, he
Yeah, a lot of them,
walked to the house and knocked on the door and asked, and I thought that was really.
yeah, a lot of them were out after practice, you know, and they would just find anyone they
Well, they
could.
see the benefits, right?
Yeah.
They see it's for
And
them.
on the 28th, what we do is the company Adrenaline asks us to have a parent chaperone, and we set them up in teams, and they are given streets in town, and they do a blitz day.
Well, that's great.
So, and then there's
Go to the
prizes
street.
for the blitz day as well.
So stay
So
healthy.
that would be on the 28th,
Well,
and
But we could put something like
Well,
that
no,
on
I,
it.
Yeah, Friday
we
the
ha-
28th.
We have this, so I feel like I wanna write a check, right?
that's fine.
Good.
They'll be here on the 18th as long as it's
Yeah,
approved.
because this
So,
And I
is, well,
could do
this is
that.
last year's.
yep.
Oh, that's last
Yeah.
year's,
Yep.
okay.
But
all
each
right.
one of you
But I'll still,
has
you know-
one, I believe.
Yeah, I think we made a copy for you
Yep.
of the one they're proposing.
Yeah, well, that's the same one.
No, it's the
They
same
haven't,
one.
they haven't given the printed one, but,
Okay, we haven't seen it yet.
each of those are for each one of you, and, some of those coupons, I think majority of those coupons are good until the end of the month, so please take advantage if you can.
Oh, so they could use it this
Yep.
year.
Yeah, you can, for sure. But I know, you know, I would like to thank,
Thank you for
Paul
pointing that
Midori's,
out.
they just opened in town. I believe they have 8 coupons on this year's card,
Wow,
so.
that's
Oh, my
great.
goodness.
Yeah,
That's
great.
they're a
awesome.
huge sponsor, with Adrenaline because of their location in Ipswich. Ipswich Baseball
next to
does
the
it
high
as well,
school,
so.
Oh, I see adrenaline,
Yeah, and then there's a code actually on the front page where our team picture is, where you can log on to a website, punch in the code, and there's actually more coupons that you can
Oh.
print out online, so.
yeah. Great idea.
Oh, that's great.
It's just a great fundraiser to raise a lot of money for the program in a short period of time, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and we'll be doing it every year, it's just this year we'd like to do it through the alumni.
So do we need to take a vote on that?
Yeah, do you guys have any specific questions about it?
No, sounds great.
So just to recap, can we buy those at the front office, the front desk?
We're not, the only issue with it is because it's not running through the school.
Right.
Okay.
There might be some sort of technicality with that.
And
I
someone
have that on my
responded.
list to check into.
Because that just seems like a really easy way, I mean, if I'm in my neighborhood and somebody comes by and tries to sell it, but
But
you know,
maybe.
I'm not home, then I would
Right,
miss out.
so,
Yeah.
so the question,
And I would
yeah,
want-
so, so the question
Well,
is,
that'll
yeah,
Or-
who's you know, like, so let's say, you know, somebody writes a check and leaves it in the front office, then the school has to be responsible for the money.
check,
Right.
right.
So that's, I think that's the challenge.
What's
What
the
if-
timeframe?
Okay,
for
it's not
this?
that it can't be
So
done
when will they
necessarily,
be
I just
on
have to
sale?
check into it.
So
Okay.
if it's approved, they've agreed to come in on the 18th, so
Oh.
next week,
Next
so next
week,
Tuesday,
okay.
yep, so this coming Tuesday. And then the final day we sell them is the 28th, and that's through their organization.
Okay.
And the kickback is we take 50% of the proceeds, they take 50% of the proceeds. And, you know, I think they bought 30, 40 pizzas for the kids on the Blitz Day.
Okay.
And they buy all the clothing and everything
Okay.
through them.
But we could put something out, I don't know, on the Facebook page or
But-
Twitter. you
but
know,
they
Find
usually-
a baseball player on these days
Right.
if you wanna
Or-
buy.
or-
That's
Like,
right,
you know,
exactly.
that's
I
the kind of
mean,
thing we wanna.
is it, can somebody contact the athletic department via email and then you
Well, I don't
could
know,
put it
that's
in
what,
my?
that's what we have to look,
Yeah.
we need to
I
look
think they
into.
can contact
I mean, the
us.
Alumni Association doesn't have a
No, we
web
don't
page,
have
do
it
they?
set up yet. No, we just started last year, so.
Now, were you president of the alumni
I am
association?
right now with, it was myself and Danielle Ingraham, and, and Danielle Ingraham, Colby Ingraham's mother. Colby is, recovering from an ACL injury
Oh, I
from
know,
football.
that was so heartbreaking.
So we're hoping that we will get him back, some point
time.
this year.
Mhm.
But, Jeff Manning, who's on the fire department, has agreed to be on the board. He travels a lot right now, so until the baseball season comes around, so he works for the government. So and there's a
Yeah,
few others.
so I think we have to just look into that, you know,
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, maybe even GAA would allow, you know, it to come through their account too.
Right.
You know, because it is a separate account, it's not really a school account,
Mhm.
so.
And if students wanna buy it at lunch.
Well, if students wanna buy it at lunch, that's
Fine.
possible.
Well, the reason we need to
Get
come in
approval
front
is-
of you and to get approval is so the kids can sell it on school grounds, and the
That's
kids
great.
can
School
sell
time.
it, so.
Okay.
I know a lot of teachers supported it last year, you know,
Mhm.
quite a few of them
Right.
are golfers, so, and they actually used
Oh,
it,
yeah,
and
I
they
mean,
were,
that's,
they were
if you're a
phenomenal.
golfer, there's plenty there for you,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. If you like to go out to eat, there's plenty there for you.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Roadhouse is
I
on
saw
there,
that,
so, and
I've
then,
used my
Roadhouse,
Dairy
yes.
Queens, I used
Yeah.
a lot of them, actually,
Yep.
I think it's a great idea.
so,
Right.
we just thought it was good because it helps support the program, but
Of course it does,
actually, the people that buy it really make out on the deal, so it's not like we're
Exactly.
taking money and
No, it is
somebody's
great.
not getting anything in return.
Provides a good value.
Exactly,
Right.
that's what we look for, so. Mhm.
Okay, so, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the Georgetown Middle High School Baseball Alumni Fundraiser to benefit the baseball program as presented.
So, second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Justin.
Good luck.
All right,
Thank
we'll be
you.
selling them on the 18th.
Okay.
And in your neighborhood this
And actually, if any of you want them, and you just let us know, we can get them from Justin, you
Yeah.
can just go.
When's our next meeting?
Oh.
Maybe somebody should show up with something.
And, well, even after the 28th, the company Adrenaline just hands us over all the unsold tickets. And they say, whatever you sell afterwards is 100% your profit, so.
There you go.
But we try and sell
I say you
what
should
we
wait
can
until, you should
within.
wait.
Okay?
Okay, thank you,
Good
Justin.
luck, thank you.
All right, great. Okay.
Administrative reports.
Right, so I just, put in your notes, I was forgetting where I wrote this to the school committee, because I was writing it to 3 different parties. I was letting, the administration know, as well as the all district, the teachers, and then I wrote to you, because I knew I had a packet due. So, we are, and I actually did write about this in my blog today, so it probably will show up on Facebook as well. But we're gonna receive a visit from the Secretary of Education, Matt Malone, on Wednesday, March 19th, next week, actually. And he's just gonna be touring the district as part of his statewide tour. I think the Commissioner of Education has also been going out. And they're really just, they're just interested in talking to districts about how they're implementing the educational goals for the state, and, you know, just, they wanna meet the union president. You know, certainly school committee members are more than welcome to come. You can either tour or just come at 9 o'clock, it's up to you. The principals, you know, obviously will be part of the tour. They wanna pop into a few classrooms, they may talk to a few students. You know, they emphasized over and over, it's very informal, this is not a, you know, where we all have to be in our 3-piece suits and, you know, our, you know, everything has to be like a dog and pony show. That's not what they're looking for. It really is just an informal visit, just kind of taking a pulse on how things are going. And I'm very excited about it, because there's a lot of really great things that I know he will see in a very short period of time. You think, oh, an hour and a half, that's not long enough to get to every school. What will he possibly see? And I can tell you, as somebody who, you know, observes in classrooms, I can see 15 minutes, the principals will support that too, a lot of what's going on. You can see an awful lot in a short period of time if you kind of know what you're looking at. And I think in his case, it's really just looking for, you know, just having a little opportunity to touch base with people here. So I'm pretty excited about that, but I wanted everybody to know, I wanted the people in the public, you know, to know we were having a visit, and, but most importantly, you know, school committee, administration, faculty and staff, so that, and students, so that when he comes, everybody to say, who's that? You know that he's coming and what he's coming for.
Do you know if he'll be coming to the high school?
He will be coming to the high school, thinking maybe he'll be coming to the high school probably, you know, sometime between 9:30 and 10 o'clock.
Because I could say hi to him.
Yes, well, you
Show 'em around.
come right down to the office
That'd be really
around
nice. That'd be
9:30,
awesome.
and we'd be happy to have you do that. Yeah, he'd love to talk with students.
You and I could come down.
Yeah, well, you come
presidents.
down, and we're happy to have you come. He would love that. Yeah, but thank you for offering. That's really excellent. And then the second thing, actually, Pam brought this to my attention. I think she may have sent you guys all an email, but I thought it was very interesting. You know, people are always evaluating schools for different purposes. And a parent from Georgetown, I believe,
Yes.
took the time to, I think, post on Facebook,
Yes.
something that she had read.
I'm not sure if she wants to be identified.
That's
but
why
I will
I'm not,
thank her.
that's
I
why
will.
I'm not gonna identify her in
Appreciate it.
public. But basically, she was looking at this neighborhood scout news feed, I guess, and, it's a neighborhood research site, real estate research, usually, for realtors, and basically, kind of giving people some feedback on, if you're looking for a place to live and a city to locate in, that, there's some, good features, and one of them is schools. And actually, it was very interesting because we were listed, as 44th, for our middle high school, as one of the best school districts, and, suggesting that people relocate to this
In
area.
the country,
the
right? Not just
country,
in the state.
yeah, in the country.
The
So-
44th best school in the country.
Yeah, and then basically,
The middle high school.
we had a little information here. It said Money Magazine calls it the best, most trusted source for choosing a neighborhood. So I thank Pam for bringing it to our attention, and the parent that did as well, and, we're very happy to see that. We didn't have any idea that was out there, and,
We weren't.
Yeah, it was a very
competing for that
interesting
as such,
website.
but-
it was
If
a
you
very
go in
interesting.
and navigate around it,
Yes,
it really
it
tells a
was.
lot of information.
It does, it had a lot of information,
Yeah.
but, I mean, we weren't expecting it. It wasn't something that kind of, was on our radar screen, but, we're really nice to hear. It's really nice to hear. And actually, like you said, it was the country, not just the state, so it was awesome. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And lastly, I didn't have this on the agenda because I didn't have the information when I wrote the packet, but I did want to just let you know that I got a little summary of the DECA students. At the state conference, how they go to the districts, then they go to the states. So there were over 2,000 students statewide competing in Boston. And actually, Pam, you were one of the judges, correct?
Yes, yes.
That's so cool.
So,
my third year doing it.
I
I
generally
love
do it, I
doing
just couldn't make that day wasn't available
Lot of
for me,
fun.
but I love being a judge, and
The
anybody, they're always looking for judges, so if that's an interest of yours, we can give you a
Students are
little,
so impressive.
they
So
are, the
much-
students are so
so
impressive.
creative, and, yeah.
So about 95% of the Georgetown students who attended received competency certificates of excellence. And one of the things about this program, I think it's like 5 years old, maybe 6 years old, but I think it's 5. 5 years old. We started with like 20 kids, and now it's up to well over 60,
many,
65
yeah.
students in the program, and they all participate in these things. So
Really close knit.
they really are. And Lisa does a phenomenal job and puts in a lot of time working with them. But additionally, the following students received medals for top 3 performances on an individual test or role play. So I'll just read the names quickly. John Max Howland, Elise, you gotta help me. Ferreira, Jillian McDonald, Becca
Skutak.
Skutak, Matt Robeson, let me put my glasses on, that would help, wouldn't it? Ryan Bahar had 2 medals, and Michael Kelly had 3 medals.
Wow.
And then receiving plaques and finishing in the overall top 10 in the state in their event were Katie DeMeo, Elise Ferreira. I don't know why that's hard for me. It looks like it's spelled. Barbie DeVoe, Edward Bloom, Jillian McDonald, Brian Savage, Reno Sarge, and Kelsey Howard. And then there were trophies for overall second place finishes were Michael Kelly and Ryan Bahar. And then there was a stock market game. There was a team of Kyle Dunleavy and Luke O'Connell who received a trophy for the top 25, which you think in 2,000 students, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids here. Receiving a trophy for state-only photo contest was Bryn Bowden. And congratulations to Zach Curtin, who was elected to state officer. And to everyone who represented Georgetown. State officer is a big deal.
Yeah, Georgetown DECA.
It
It's like at DECA, people know who
Georgetown is.
Yes.
And it's the baby program there. I mean, it's the last program that was added. In fact, the woman who's in charge of the statewide program is actually a parent in Georgetown. And one of the first people, Mrs. McFadden, and when I first came to town, she was like, I don't understand why you don't have a DECA program. Of course, knowing nothing, I didn't. And then when we hired Lisa Ryer, she had actually had experience. So we're like, perfect, this is perfect timing. And it's just been a great ever since. So we're so excited. It's a wonderful opportunity for our students because it's real world. They have to, when I was a judge one time, they had 30 minutes. They were given a scenario, and they had 30 minutes to prepare their role play and deliver, so I had to pretend I was the boss and they were delivering, their idea and their speech, and they have, all their, it's just amazing. It's amazing what
My
they
students had 10 minutes,
yeah.
but I'm not allowed to judge Georgetown
Yeah, well,
students, so-
that would make sense. We wouldn't do that.
No,
But I just
I would be partial.
wanted to draw your attention to
Right.
these wonderful students,
That's-
again,
that's great,
representing
yes.
us so well, and I like to acknowledge them publicly, and certainly
And what grade is it?
9 through
9 through
12.
Oh,
Well,
it
the
is.
thing is about
You have to take a business class,
freshmen
yeah.
is you have to take a business
Yeah.
class before you can join. So usually it's sophomore to
Yeah,
senior.
that's true.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I really like DECA because it's one of those real world things
Yes.
that Georgetown offers. Because a lot of the kids I know who didn't know what they wanted to do for college, had no idea. They do DECA and then they know they want to do business because they fall in love with it. So like John Max is the president of DECA. He's my
Yeah.
friend, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, and now he's in love. He fell in love with DECA, and now he's going to school for business.
And he has a very strong skill,
Right,
I mean,
so-
they have to have such poise, they come in, they have to carry themselves in a certain way. They have to really learn some business principles, because you just can't get into the scenario. One of the things you score them on is how well they apply, actual skills, not just you're a nice looking girl or a nice looking guy and you can smile nice. They really have stringent criteria as to what needs to be, considered when you're evaluating. It's really rigorous, I would say. And, for Georgetown to do so well right out of the gate. I mean, Mrs. McFadden told me a lot of times, there are some programs that get a lot of awards, but they've been doing it for 10, 15 years with the same advisor, and they've got, feeder programs and all that. And Georgetown just surprised everybody, because right away, we ended up doing great the first year. And it's just wonderful every year.
Georgetown.
It's
right?
little Georgetown, Amazing what these little towns can do, huh? So anyway, that,
With
I
great
just wanted to
teachers.
bring that to your attention.
And students.
Congratulations to everybody.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's great.
congratulations, thank you.
Okay. Winter report, winter athletics report,
Chris.
Chris?
Hey, Chris.
How are you? How's everyone?
Good, thanks for coming.
Thanks. So, this is our seasonal end of the season report. So, Georgetown hosted boys basketball, girls basketball, cheer, and wrestling this year. Wrestling's a co-op with Ipswich. And we co-opted in swim for the first time, which was really neat with Triton. And then we had a few kids in track and field who were grandfathered, and then boys ice hockey and girls ice hockey. Boys with Pentucket, girls with Masco. So we can just kind of run through each sport and some of the accomplishments. So girls basketball had 2 league all-stars, Haley Bonia and Kayla Durkee.
Yep.
Boys basketball qualified for the state tournament and finished with one of the best regular season records in recent history at 15-5. They went 16-6 overall, so they won a game in the state tournament, and then they lost to Manchester Essex in their second game. They had 2 all-league players, Matt God and Patrick Bjork.
Great.
2 all-stars, Ben Nelk and Ryan Slack. The team received the McCoy Award from the Cape Ann League, which is given to usually a player who fights through adversity, but it was actually given to the whole team because of the loss of head coach Mike Rowinski.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, and
I like how they had the, what was it, the shirts? that
yeah,
they
they had warm-up shirts with his name on the back.
That was so nice.
Yeah, and the season really was a tribute to Mike. So
Yes, and this was the year that the team had been building and building and building. This was going to be the peak year,
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of the
they did-
seniors that were
I was very
excellent.
impressed. They were really good. It
Yeah.
was fun to watch.
They played inspired, I would say.
absolutely, yeah. You
had
could see
a purpose.
there's almost like a flip switched
That's
after.
unbelievable, yeah.
It was really it was tough for them. I was in the locker room when we told the boys what happened, and
Yeah.
it was tough, but they fought through it.
Mr. Spears did a great
He
job.
did an awesome
Oh.
job taking over.
The kids love him anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Well, he
think,
knew
I don't
the-
think they had any problem like under his leadership, but
No, I don't think anybody could have done for the program and those boys at that moment in time what Barry did.
Yeah.
I did write that in my blog. I wrote about
Yeah.
that, because I just, Barry was the assistant coach for years, for those of you who don't know, and he retired at the end of last year, thinking he was gonna go and enjoy the warm weather with his wife, and then when this happened, Chris contacted him, and he didn't give it a second thought, so he came and he did what he needed to do for those boys, and, they responded, it was just heartwarming. It really was heartwarming.
Yeah.
You know, you could see how much he cared about those kids and they cared about him. It was just amazing.
And so the Cape Ann League has an annual banquet, and it was kind of interesting because last year Barry got Assistant Coach of the Year award, and Mike presented it to him. And this year, Mike was honored with the Elliott Roundy Distinguished Service Award, which is the highest award they have. So it was actually presented last night, and Barry accepted it on Mike's behalf.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
And the fact that the league the league saw what the kids went through and, you know, chose the team, I think that is just, I think that's very admirable. You know,
So it was a
that's great.
really tough situation, and
Yep.
Now, on a go-forward basis, like next year, is Mr. Spears?
we haven't decided that yet.
No.
Yeah, we haven't had the banquet or anything, so
Oh,
we'll go through
the
all.
next
The
week,
poor
right? The
guy's trying to
banquets?
retire, you know?
Oh, I know.
Some people get an F in retirement, you know? Oh dear.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, and then we had cheerleading. This year was sort of a rebuilding year for cheer. The plan all year was to compete, but we just didn't have the numbers. There were injuries and
Yeah.
not enough flyers, and it was just, you know. But they still had a lot of fun. They kept the spirit of the basketball games. They got to travel to the state tournament game on their own bus. So I thought they had a good season, and you know they're really, I think, psyched for next season because they did build. They still built a routine even though they didn't compete with it.
And the coach is really,
Oh, she's awesome.
she's doing a great job and she really, you know, they really work as a team and they really, they work hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
they,
one is a
Yeah.
tough
they,
coach.
she's not easy on them, but they really, you know, they really learn.
Those are usually the best coaches, right? The ones
Exactly.
that really push you.
She's really, really tough, and then the second practice is over. She's, you know, the
Back
nicest
to a
woman
regular
in the
mom
whole
self,
world.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
But the
it's really
cheerleaders,
great.
they really represent us really well. And, you know, we always have this debate, you know, is it a sport, isn't it a sport,
It's a
you know?
sport.
It's a
sport.
sport.
As a
When-
cheerleader, it's a sport.
When you see what these ladies do in terms of just the strength they have to have and the coordination and the trust and it's just unbelievable.
I agree.
So,
And then wrestling, another great new coach, Ryan Archambault,
Yep,
took
excellent.
over a program that Mike Curley had built up and, you know, hit the ground running. They finished over 500, which for Georgetown Ipswich wrestling isn't the norm. They had 3 all-leaguers. Those are all, so that's Charlie Galanis, Matt Carey, and Derek Chamberlain. They're all Ipswich kids. And then they had 5 wrestlers qualify for states, 2 for all states, and 1 for New England's, which was the first in 5 years. So some pretty amazing accomplishments.
when I first
from the
came
wrestling
here, the
program.
wrestlers,
great.
they had like 6 kids on the team.
Yeah.
And you if you don't have a wrestler in a weight category, you have to forfeit. So our wrestlers that were wrestling would do very well, but we would be beat pretty badly because we would lose points every time. Now when I look at that team, and I think Mike Curley, you know, I mean Ryan's awesome, but I think Mike really built that program up. And now you have more than enough
Yeah.
wrestlers at each.
Yeah, how
At
many
each
do we
level.
have?
We had 19.
19 total?
Yep, and
Wow.
there were 9 from Georgetown, 10 from Ipswich, so
That's
perfect
great.
balance. But it's, you know, in the spirit of co-op, it's a great number. You know,
Yes, it is.
if we just had a Georgetown team, 9 kids isn't
Yeah,
enough
it's
to
not enough.
compete.
No.
So that's the co-op model really working.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So you know, he's psyched. We
I
actually
still don't get the whole wrestling thing, though.
That's
It's
I don't
not
get it.
WWE.
Yeah, I don't understand how
It's
they
very
score
they-
points and.
Oh,
I
it's
don't-
unbelievable.
If you want to learn, this is exciting. We actually a couple of cool things. This was the first year that we held a quad meet in many, many years, probably a decade from what I had heard, which means schools, and it was actually a 5-team meet, came to Georgetown High School. We had 2 mats set up. It was really, really fun. Next year, we were picked to host the Cape Ann League tournament.
Oh, really?
So it's so it's going to be an all-day event.
Oh, that'll be great.
So every team in the Cape Ann League will be there. So it's going to be a really,
Oh, that is pretty neat.
really fun thing. And
It is hard to keep up with. It is hard to keep up with what it is. But what's amazing to me is that they don't break each other's arms.
yeah,
Oh,
You know,
I
like
I
when
don't
you,
get it.
when they, oh my God, it's
an
they're
art.
like pretzels. It's
So
unbelievable.
would that be around in March, next March?
Crazy.
I think it's in February.
In February,
Yeah, because
okay.
then it goes from that to the all states and the New England's and yeah.
Oh, that's a great opportunity too for us to host it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I think the last time we had the opportunity, we actually passed on it. So this year I said we're gonna do it.
We're gonna do
We're
it,
gonna
yeah.
Yeah,
right.
capitalize on
So
that.
yeah,
No, it's a strong program.
Yeah, good for Ryan, I'm glad,
Excellent.
because he's very excited. I would see him walking in,
Yeah.
like during practice,
Oh,
and
he's
I'd
very
say,
excited.
how are things going? And he was always really positive and
Upbeat.
he was
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah, we were very happy that he was
That's
interested in the position, because Mike Curley was really an awesome coach. And we thought, oh, it's gonna be hard to replace him, and we were so lucky that Ryan was interested and available.
Absolutely. And then our co-op sports, swim, which was with Triton and Newburyport, we had an all-league swimmer in Jen Nutter, and we had 2 of our swimmers qualify for the state tournament.
And so how many swimmers do we have from
We had
Georgetown?
3.
3?
Yeah. So and again, that's the spirit of co-op, that we had 3, Newburyport had 5, Triton had,
Okay,
and it all
yeah.
works together. So
That's great. I think it's
can't have a
great that
swim
we
team with
give
3
those
kids.
kids the opportunity
Yeah.
to play. Swim.
The Ipswich grandfather track, we had 2 athletes qualify for states, and Ryan Bahar was named all-league. And I've got some news on that later.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Boys ice hockey with Pentucket, Patrick Slack was named all-league. And then girls ice hockey with
Wow.
Masconomet qualified for the state tournament. And Jensina Moner was named all-league, so.
Do you know, and so eight students in boys ice hockey from Georgetown, how many are from Pentucket?
I'm not sure, we usually, when we host, we get those numbers. When we send, we really don't.
Well, usually
Okay.
they'll carry 20 kids probably,
Yeah.
Okay.
so, the vast majority are Pentucket.
Yeah, and when you look at our participation numbers, they're actually up from last year. And last year we had a pretty good winter, so that was really nice. We had 10 more athletes overall.
Is this number just varsity?
That's all the programs
Junior
combined.
varsity and
Yep.
varsity, okay.
And freshmen and middle school, yeah.
And freshmen, right.
Yeah. So
Great.
girls basketball was healthy this year. With the middle high school being under one principal, we could use 8th graders on the freshman team. So we actually had 4 levels. Last year we only had 3 levels, so that was really good. The boys program had 55 kids, cheer 14, wrestling 19, and then the co-ops that we had mentioned.
Wow.
And then we took,
Great.
when you look at the revenue, we are up about $10,000 from last year. And as you know, every year at the end of the year, we usually are down $10,000. So,
correct.
Although
At least $10,000.
Julie is very happy that
Yeah.
she's not having to look
so
for
the
money
user
from the
fees are
athletic
doing what
budget.
they're supposed to do. They're really balancing the budget, which is
good.
great. And then some of our concerns, the chair numbers are down. I think there's excitement though. I think those numbers will go back up. And then one of my concerns, and as an athletic director, academics always come first. We lost 5 kids to academic eligibility after 2nd quarter, so we really need to hammer the point home that you're a student first and athlete second. So that was a wake-up call when we saw that. We always sort of fear that day when the grades come out, but this year that's an abnormal number. So
Well, we did up the academic, a couple years ago, we did up the academic rigor on that, and a higher threshold than the MIAA
Yes.
requires. So, for
And
some
what
students.
is,
Well,
do you know?
it used to be able to fail 2 classes and still play. What we have as a policy now is that you can't fail more than 1, and you must maintain a 70 average.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what gets the kids that become ineligible.
it's
Is it the
almost always
number?
2 failures.
It's the 2
Yeah.
failures, okay, so it's not the 70 average.
The 70,
overall.
because it's really tough to have a 70 average and only fail 1 class. So
Okay, so it's,
yeah, it's the
so it's
failures.
usually they're failing more than 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Or sometimes it's incompletes
So
as
that
well.
sounds like a very,
And incompletes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good policy. I mean,
Policy, yeah.
it's
Well, and
stricter
I think
than
the other
states.
thing is, the coaches have, in the past, I'm sure it continues, but the coaches have have said to kids, if you need academic help, if you need to stay after school, that's the first thing. You come to practice, you come late. There's not a penalty for you if you're getting academic help. Just have the teacher say that you are with them. And then even some of the coaches, because there is a lag time between when the kids get out of school and when practice starts, the coaches have offered to, have a time where everybody can work on homework and do those kind of things. Because the coaches obviously really want to see the students succeed as well. So
But-
there are some checks and balances for students who want to take
Absolutely.
advantage of it.
do the kids get confused about communication? Because isn't the idea that you need to, if you're going to miss a practice, you need to tell the coach ahead of time? And so maybe they don't quite realize that if it's academic, if they suddenly realize, that the teacher's gonna be there that afternoon, I need to see them, but they might not choose that because they hadn't told the coach ahead of time.
Well, I think that's,
Yeah,
I
but
mean.
there's a lot of
maybe
responsibility on the
something-
kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but,
very common for a kid to show up to practice, say, Coach, I need to go talk to my math teacher. They go talk to the math teacher, and then they come to practice as
Yeah.
soon as they can.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
usually
Oh, good.
a very
Good.
common thing, and the coaches are always okay with it.
Oh, good.
Well, like Chris had said, it is a big responsibility for the kids,
Yeah.
but
oh, yeah.
they're at that age where they should be
But they
able to
wanna
handle
play.
it.
They wanna
We're talking
play,
about
so-
high school here, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And, yeah.
It's interesting. One of the things that I think, you know, we have Edline that has the grade reports.
Right.
And I think coaches should really be more apt to say, I need an Edline report, and that would give them a better.
Right.
I remember when I coached, it was the progress reports,
Yeah,
and they
that's
said
the way
we
my
were always
father-
checking
my
on progress
father was
reports.
the same way.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know.
those don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So is that something that the coaches have access to?
the students would have to print them out.
They wouldn't have access to Edline.
No, but, you know, if they went to the principal and said, can I have the Edline report, is that something that we would give to, I mean,
No,
some of the,
'cause it's-
some
no,
of the
no,
coaches are
the-
teachers, but if they're
Yeah,
not
it
teachers.
would have to be the kid. The coach would have to say to the students,
Child,
"I
yeah.
need your."
Yeah, it's a
Edline
privacy issue.
Okay.
But I think that's.
So what was it in the previous years? Like just, I know I'm not gonna hold you
Yeah, I
to the
don't have
numbers,
the-
but
yeah.
5 was,
5 seemed high.
Five.
Yeah, I think in the fall season we had 1.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that was an anomaly, but it's something they track.
yeah.
And then we'll talk briefly about spring sports. So we're going to have our boys and girls lacrosse teams, softball, baseball, middle school track. Softball, we just sort of came to an agreement that our numbers are going down in softball, and we want to keep the program alive and hopefully boost it back up. So we're not going to have a JV team this year. In its place, we're going to have a freshman team, which we've never had before. And we're going to open it up to 7th graders. So we traditionally haven't allowed 7th graders to play. We think if we give another year, that might get more kids involved and hopefully build it back up. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Now
isn't-
that's
this isn't-
consistent, right, though, with previous years?
No.
Softball?
No, we've had well, the numbers
Well,
have been low, but they've been enough to have
getting-
teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
had enough to have teams. And actually, GAA tells me that they're struggling, they're also struggling
Yeah,
with
we've
girls'
heard that.
participation,
They've opened it up
particularly
to other
in
towns.
softball. So
Yeah, that's.
we're feeling the
Yeah.
effects of that, I think, yeah.
But it's you know it's another one of those good things because we can now do the best we can to build it
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah, we don't lose the feeder program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of 7th and 8th grade girls, I know that are good.
Yeah,
at
we and
softball.
it's funny. I think we have 6 8th graders signed up right now, so we really need 4 or 5 more girls, and we'll be
Right.
good to go.
Right. I mean, because we have one principal, Rockport is in the same boat. We can technically use 7th and 8th graders on our high school teams. But remember, we've had the philosophy that for social and emotional and physical concerns, that we don't believe it's right for 7th graders to be playing against, 10th and 11th graders, JV players. So we just didn't opt for that. It would have been the easy thing to do. We said, no, we have to be consistent here. We don't want anybody getting hurt. Nor do we want 8th graders necessarily playing varsity, right? Because we just don't want that. So this came up, we were being very creative. We were like, well, should we just have one team? We discussed that, and then it was like, then you lose the feeder. So thanks to, Christopher coming up with, well, here's an option we didn't explore. And sure enough, the Cape Ann League said we can do that. First inclination I had was you have so many middle school kids, 7th, 8th grade, create a middle school team. But then remember we had this discussion about middle school sports, there's no way to play. So thankfully, the freshman option.
Yeah, we made it
And
work.
now if you have 7th and 8th graders playing with freshmen, that's different than 7th and 8th graders playing with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So I'm really, thank you, Chris, for
Yeah.
doing that work.
And then we do have outdoor track again, finally.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. If Rob were here, he'd be very excited about
yeah,
that.
that's good.
And Triton is going to be hosting us
Yeah,
for
I'm
both boys and
glad.
girls.
That's who you thought.
Yeah.
You
They've
would-
been very
they-
interested
They're
in
awesome.
co-oping. They've been a good
They have a new
neighbors.
athletic director, Sean McGinnis, and he has just been so open-armed about,
Good.
bringing us in for anything that we don't have the numbers to sustain ourselves. So
And it's
we're
so close, it makes sense.
yeah, we're going to be exploring intramural girls volleyball with them in the spring as well. I'm not sure. It starts on Monday. I don't know if anyone has signed up with them or not. But the hope is in the fall that we will send a few kids over to do volleyball as well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So volleyball is something that you've heard from the students as far as?
Yeah, so we
wanting-
polled the students and asked what would you be most interested in, and it was track and field, tennis, and volleyball.
Oh.
Yeah.
And track and field and volleyball were definitely the big winners.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, when we were inquiring, so.
And I think if we build it the right way, in a few years we could probably host our own team.
What we just have to be
Really?
careful of is we don't kill the field hockey
Exactly.
program
Or the soccer
or
program.
the soccer program, you know,
That's the
so
thing, you
it's
But
pull
cheering
from all the
program.
other.
I mean, you should have teams in what the kids wanna play, but you don't want it to be one of those things where it's volatile from year to year too. You know, you wanna be able to have some consistency.
Yeah.
Our programs have been well established, so this is a way to dip our toe into, you know, seeing if we have enough athletes to, cause we will, remember, well, sixth grade really doesn't affect us.
No.
We're gonna be losing the sixth grade, but it won't change much.
Then the other thing, we do have some new coaches, new JV baseball coach, Chris McKenna, who's taken over for Dave Derone, who's, I believe, our longest tenured
Yeah,
coach.
He was, yeah.
So, you know, he'll be missed. He's gonna help out with the varsity a little bit still. And then our girls lacrosse program, Courtney Arrigo, who was the JV coach last year, is now the varsity coach. And Maureen Cannon, who was the varsity assistant, is now gonna be the JV coach.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
that's it.
Exciting. You know, well,
Tell
thanks
them
for all
your
that you do.
news.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, can I tell them your
Appreciate it.
news?
Oh, we have to now.
I guess so.
Chris is gonna be a dad.
Oh, congratulations.
That's wonderful.
I'm so excited.
That's very exciting.
Like I'm having the baby, right? I'm all excited for you, Chris.
That's wonderful.
Oh, it's very
I'm
exciting.
going to spread that around as well. Right now, oh my God.
Don't tweet it.
It's already been Snapchatted.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great news, Chris.
Thanks.
I don't
Wish
know
your
how
wife
we're
the
gonna,
best.
he'll have to be carrying his baby around. He's at everything, you know, so the baby will be a little mascot, right?
Exactly.
Have one of those slings, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
That'd be funny.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I gotta I'm texting Rebecca right now.
It's all good news.
That is, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I'm excited for.
So now we got Julie.
The math vertical team
Come on,
report.
Julie and Paula, right?
I'm excited. for
Hi,
this.
Paula, come on up.
Yes.
Paula just came from parent conferences.
Oh,
so-
I know. Thank you for coming
Thank
over.
you even more for coming.
Yes, absolutely.
I know, I was a little, I was questioning why those teacher conferences were the same night as the school committee meeting.
I don't know. That, you have to ask Mr. Lucia that question.
Yeah, I will,
It's a scheduling issue, I guess.
because that was a,
I know, we always try to avoid that.
I
don't,
know, it's-
again, I don't know why, because it is a problem when it's the only night they have conferences and you have high school kids. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess we didn't realize that. I guess we didn't realize it. We will try to avoid it in the future, as we do every year.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's see, we gotta get our,
So in your packets, I did put in a little PowerPoint. Well, you love those. 8 o'clock at night. Just some thoughts on the math vertical team and some of the shifts in the curriculum.
thank you, Margaret. Did you see,
That-
Julie? Do you-
Yeah,
are
oh,
you
this
okay?
is great, yeah. That we're working on this
It's really
year.
dark.
It is a little dark, but I can see it. And we were going to have an elementary representative, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but we do have a stomach flu issue.
Yes, we do.
That's going not just through this, but every town it seems, and so we couldn't have that representation here tonight, but whatever questions you have, we'll bring to the group. One of the things that I just want to talk briefly about is the whole purpose for, why do we have new standards? We have new standards in ELA, which is a huge, undertaking, but we also have the math. So if you're an elementary school teacher, you're dealing with 2 huge changes within your classroom. And so the work that the vertical team does is try to align as much as we can and learn about the standards so we can do that in a systematic and a way that helps teachers overall. So one of the strategic goals for the state is to improve literacy performance in pre-K to 3, grades pre-K to 3. So if you imagine our strategic plan for the district, this is what the state's strategic plan is, as well as improve mathematic performance in grades 5 through 8, increase college and career readiness, and that's for all students, and improve educator effectiveness. You see that in the new teacher evaluation system that we're working with. Turn around lowest performing school districts, and those would be school districts who are labeled or identified as 3, 4, or 5 across the state, and make effective use of data to improve instruction, which is obviously another initiative that we're taking on this year in the district. So just to name a few, we're doing all of those as well in the district, and so we'll talk about math today. The 2011 math frameworks focus on 4 major components, and one is a focus or a critical area, 1 or more at each grade level. The other thing that they're trying to do with this new rendition of frameworks is to build in a sense of coherence. So developing clusters and connections within and across grades, and we'll see some of that tonight. Clarity in terms of what specifically should be taught at each grade level. And that is something that was missing in the other standards because it wasn't always identified very specifically what should be taught. When should multiplication be taught? When should addition and subtraction be taught? When should students really understand long division? Those things are much more clear now with the new frameworks. And rigor. How do we up the rigor so that our students are able to really delve deeply into mathematical practice and also be ready for college? One of the things that we're learning through the STEM work that we're doing, Margaret and I, is that one of the greatest indicators of a STEM field or a student in a STEM field is their ability to handle the work in Algebra 2 at the high school level. That's a huge precursor to how well students will do in STEM careers. And so we really think about that connection as well when we think about math and math at the middle and high school levels.
So Paula, what's the sequence? Is it algebra, geometry, then algebra 2?
Yes. It's still that.
So just to give you a quick upshot of, where did they get all the ideas that they get, what they do is they take a look at the research that's been done over the last 10 or 15 years of math. So they pulled from the National Council of Teachers of Math focal points, the NAEP data that we get every year, excuse me, the TIMSS and the PISA data, which are longitudinal assessments that are done across, in every country. Our SAT and our ACT scores, and just research that's done in the field of education around math. And not only math, but math and science and in other content areas as well. So that's the evidence base for the standards. The standards for mathematical practice are a very big driver within the new frameworks. And as you look through, I don't know if you've ever seen the blue book, but our blue book is what we work out of for math, and this is a book that was given to all districts by the state. And all of the standards for mathematical practice are built into each grade level. And this comes directly from the National Council of Teachers of Math, and it's something that they've really woven into all of the components of each grade level's expectations. So when we adopted our new frameworks for ELA and for math, I know that you've heard many times, the Common Core. It's the Common Core. Well, the Common Core is a set of standards that each state adopted, but each state had the capacity to add between 4 and 15% to the state's adopted frameworks. So our Common Core is an incorporation, or our state frameworks, I should say, is an incorporation of Common Core standards and the additional standards that you see listed here in blue. So that would include coins in grade 1. Concepts of negative numbers in grade 5, measurement in precision at the high school. That's something specific to Massachusetts. You may not find that in New Hampshire or Texas or one of the other states that adopted the Common Core as well. But in Massachusetts specifically, those are the shifts and the additions that were made. And this is just a visual representation of what I just said here. So to show you, excuse me, here are the additions. In pre-K, you'll see counting and cardinality, operations of algebraic thinking, the number system in grade 5, and that has to do with the negative numbers that we discussed, and geometry, measurement, and data at the pre-K level. So it's a lot for small children when you think of it that way. And so what we do is try to look at how do we teach that? What does that look like? What does statistics and probability or measurement and data look like in a pre-K or K classroom? So when we get the standards, it's funny because some of us taught before standards, and then we taught when the new first set of standards came out. Now we're teaching with this brand new set of standards, which is like the Rolls-Royce edition. When you get these standards, it's so much reading and work to really break down what does this really mean and what is this supposed to look like in the classroom and through teaching. And so what we try to do is break down here what is the grade level focus. So each bank of standards across every grade level looks just like this, black and white text, numbers, words, and so what we try to do is break down, okay, what do they want for us to do in grade 2? If you notice, there are 4 critical areas for grade 2, and those are the critical areas that we focus a lot of our instruction on. So we're going back through everyday math in our mathematics series, and we're saying, how do we know that those critical areas are taught, and where are they taught, and to what depth are they taught? And so that's the work that we do in the vertical team, is really determine what are those critical areas for every grade level, and what are the materials and the resources that we have to support those expectations. So when you look into the standards, you know, it doesn't come out color-coded for you, unfortunately. So you have to kind of break down what's the domain. Is it numbers and operations in base 10? Is it geometry? Is it, you know, what is it algebraic thinking? What is the grade level? Some of these things look so similar as you kind of flip through the pages. What is the cluster heading telling us that we need to focus on? Is it place value? What is it exactly that we're supposed to be doing here? Excuse me. And how do the standards fall under each cluster? So when I'm looking at a lesson or a unit, how can I know that this is really focused on understanding how to count within 1,000? And those are the breakdowns that we're working on. So just to give you a different kind of visual for that. And those are the standards there. So our pre-K to 8 standards, the progression that they've given us in the new state standards provides a strong foundation for algebra. We focus on place value operations and fractions in the earlier grades. If you talk to people that have been working within math for many years, they'll tell you it's almost like they took the grade level expectations and broke it up a little bit but moved it down a grade level. So we have a lot of younger kids doing things that we didn't have them do before. And so that's kind of a shift in a different direction for us, and it's really getting us to think about how are we going to deal with statistics and probability, proportionality, how do we do slope in linear functions and things like that in grade 8. So those are the things that we're working through right now. So the critical areas, like I just said before, are really good determinants for us to try to identify what each grade level and course is asking. What are we asking of students to do in those grade levels? And this is just a few examples of what's happening in grade 1 now, excuse me, as a result of these new standards. So in grade 1, we're asking students to develop an understanding of addition, subtraction, and strategies for those within 20. How do we develop and understand whole number relationships and place value, including grouping 10s and 1s? How do we develop an understanding in linear measurement and measuring lengths in units? And so just to give you an idea, I know you don't have to read every word to you, but just I wanted to put that in your packet so you could kind of take a look at what are these grade level shifts and what are they asking and how are we working within those. Does that make sense? And so grade 8, you know, you can definitely see the shift there. We're asking students to talk about understanding and applying the Pythagorean theorem, understanding quantitative relationships, solving linear equations, things that I just spoke about before. It's just definitely a huge shift, but for us, we look at that as a positive. You know, we're excited about it. So we've had some really great conversations at our vertical teams this year. We've only been able to meet 5 times this year, but even within those conversations, I feel like we're making great relationships between grade levels of people that haven't met before and been able to just talk about math throughout the district in each grade level. And really, we've been able to take a look at what are the series that we're using and how are we building those things upon each other in each grade level.
Yeah, because it's very interesting just sitting, if they can understand what happens from K through 6th to 7th, 8th, how much what they teach and, you know, and what the students grasp really plays into the higher level math.
Absolutely.
And for them to know that, you know, it's not for me, it really truly is needed. So that when they get to, since Miss LaPlaca is here and getting into honors calculus, that if you, some of those basic things, I've heard them so many times say, it's those simple errors.
Yeah.
And in a complicated derivative, those are going to kill you.
Right.
And then you go back and you have to kind of start all over again. So, and that comes from basic foundational skills at the elementary level. Those simple things that like being able to count by 3s and count by 4s and count by 5s, and just understanding that that's the when you see that a number and okay, that's a multiple of 4, that's a multiple of 3. They might seem so simplistic, but that comes into play every single day in high school classes. Every single day. So it served me well, and I learned it way back then, and it's still, you know, I mean, today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and we just have to make sure, along with these other standards, that we get back to those basic things, and that's kind of what we talk about in vertical.
And that's what the standards are really identifying. When I talk about those critical areas, that's where they're saying it. Make sure that you're dealing with your students in that way. You're giving them all those opportunities to really work within the number system and understand it, so you can apply it in honors calc how many years later, and it comes naturally to you. Does it come naturally to you? Like, you can pull those things.
Sometimes right before lunch, you're like, oh, I didn't carry the -1 and ruined the whole thing. So.
It's one little thing. I know my son was doing the same thing last night.
The easiest part of the
How
problem.
did I do that wrong? Right. It's the one thing that you just don't remember the step or whatever the case may be. But it's that foundational knowledge to know that and be able to think about it later and say, that's where it happened for me, and I remember that now.
But we kind of got away, and some of it's just plain old memorization. You know, your multiplication facts is just the drill and chitin thing. You don't like those terms necessarily, but that's really what it is. You know, you just, and that's not always done in the classroom. That's got to be done at home or in a, after-school setting or something to help them in addition to that. But those are the things that, again, is that foundation that math keeps building upon, because each class builds upon itself.
So one of the things that we're working on in Vertical Team, and I think I have it up there, is to develop a series of resources for teachers and parents so that our teachers understand where the grade level shifts are. And I'm wondering if I can pull something up here to show it to you. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the whole thing on the screen here. Probably not, 'cause this is the older version. But what we're trying to do is really get a sense of here's what the frameworks say, but in action in our units and in our lessons, here's the language that coordinates with that. And what we're hoping to be able to do, and it's not a good representation of it up there because you can't really read it, but is to give a series of interventions and supports for our students so our teachers can identify them readily, but also for parents. There's a lot of great material out there. To help parents understand, when you're going to parent conferences, here's when you're asking about math or reading and, the new shifts in these new frameworks, here are some topics for you to focus on. Here are some things that you can do at home to help with some of those memorization things, but also with just basic fluency with math or reading, choosing a good level of reading with your child at home. So we're trying to develop some more tools for that to help parents digest this as we do, as we're working through it ourselves.
So we're still using everyday math at the elementary
Yes.
levels through what grade?
Grade 5.
Okay.
I think you can turn the lights back on.
And we've been pleased with how that's working for us?
Right now we're working on aligning that to the standards, really, and determining, when everyday math was created, it wasn't created within the structure of the new frameworks that we just adopted at the state level. So we're working kind of in that vein of trying to identify where do we need to build in some materials to support with the new
Unfortunately, no
frameworks.
program
There is no
will
perfect
ever
program.
will ever completely address every
No.
single standard. You always have to supplement.
Right.
But the work they're doing is figuring out where are those places,
Right.
and that's where that makes sense. Without this work, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
No, this is a great stuff. I love, this is the one meeting I look forward to.
I know, and these teachers, I always say it, but they do come voluntarily after
they
school.
do, after
They
school.
don't get paid, they're doing the work, and I can't thank them enough because we have the greatest conversations.
We do.
We really do.
Yeah, because from kindergarten all to 5th, the representation there, from the high school, we've got, the middle school in there too, and, me who likes the big picture starts to put pieces and puzzles together and, and say, hey, I can see where if we do something here, this is gonna help progress up through and help them in, later,
That's right.
as they, and then as we mature them up and move them out and, get them on to their next chapter of their life.
Right. And have you looked at how you teach students to use calculate? I mean, obviously you have, but how does that fit into your work? I mean, I know there's graphing calculators and all kinds of calculators, and I was just reviewing an SAT practice test with my son, who's a junior, and there was a question that he didn't, and he left unanswered, and I looked at it and I could figure it out, like about 15 seconds. And I said, how come you didn't get that? And he said, well, I did on the calculator, and the calculator didn't come up with an answer. So I was saying, so how do you know when to use a calculator and when not to use a calculator? The calculator messed you up here.
Right, you would have probably
that's-
done well without it.
And that's the
Right.
see, you looked at the problem, from school and said, and kind of broke it down. You did, your analytical skills kicked in.
Right.
It says, here's, read the problem, then go back, and then start to break it apart. And then subconsciously, you're pulling in these tools that you had learned a while back,
Years ago, yeah.
right? Which we all do,
Right.
That's the skills that we've got to get back, because it's all kind of right here, plug on it, on us. And if it doesn't come up with the right answer, it means you've really got to understand, and that's one of the big pet peeves of mine, is if you understand what the tool, whether it's algebraic or geometric, because it's kind of those two arenas, if you understand what that theorem, postulate, property of algebra does, then you can mix and match it any way you want. And it has nothing to do with the calculator's only there to do some hard, the complication, so you're not sitting there, multiplying 3-digit, 4-digit, 5-digit numbers and then dividing by, some fractional thing, and that let the calculator do. But you have to lay it all out, then just go to there instead of trying to punch it all in and not map it out and break it down.
Right.
And understand what you have to use in order to solve it. We moved away from that.
Good.
Over math, over the course, and everything. I just saw a shift, because I've been in industry around that. I came back because I've trained to teach 7th through 12th grade math way back when. And when I came back into it, I said, I could just see those things that we had moved away from when I had taught for a little bit.
Basic fundamental skills and ability
So
to.
the thing of it is
one of
is
the major
concepts.
shifts for
It's-
us is
it's-
kind of
it's-
building in
and
those
this would
expectations.
allow us, but we also
Right.
have to move, move back, because it's not always, calculator isn't going to tell you everything. It's only as
No,
smart as
when
what you
to
put
use it,
into
Well, and
it.
you have
When
to,
not to
and
use
you
it,
have to
and-
know when
Right.
when the answer that you're looking at can be right or wrong.
But there's a
Exactly.
tendency.
You have to
Right, you have to
understand
have
that,
common sense, so does that
Yeah,
answer
does that
the
make
calculator
sense?
make
Right.
sense? Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Because I'm always saying, does your answer make sense? Because there's no way we can run through every single problem you're ever going to have on an SAT, PSAT, or when you go off to college. But what we give you is a plethora of tools
Yes, yes.
in which you can, if you take the time to understand them, then they will serve you very well. They'll be your best friend.
Yes.
They will.
So now the elementary teachers that are now changing younger kids are getting more difficult.
You mean all these frameworks?
Right.
Right.
So how do they feel like the child is prepared for that? Do they think that it's, that they are, mature enough to get it?
That's a
and-
big question, and I think we're all wondering, when we ask students, to understand multiplication by the end of grade 3 and, memorize your facts between 0 and 100, I think that's logical. I think you can do that by the end of grade 3. If we were talking about the end of grade 2, that might be a different story. So one of the things that we're talking about is how can we build some of those precursors into the end of grade 2? How can we get people thinking about, here's what's coming next year, so you can do a little bit of work at the end of the year, and maybe we can set up some things over the summer that parents can work on with their kids. Not mandatory, but just, as you're kind of thinking, what will my child be entering into next year? Here are some resources that will help, kind of bridge the gap between summer and the beginning of the school year. So every single child in the state is going to be at that kind of a disadvantage because the whole state's adopted all these new standards. And we're all kind of in that place of trying to identify what those grade level expectations should look like in practice. So it's not that they're at a huge disadvantage, it's just that they've kind of upped the ante on very specific things. So we're going back to figure out how can we make sure that we are accommodating for that with the children that are coming and the children that have gone past that but are now in the next grade level. you know, so.
It just takes time.
It does
you know?
take time,
Yeah.
it does, but at least we're aware of it, and the teachers are working, and they're really very interested in it, and they have a lot of support to make those decisions and to look at how can we do this and help support our kids along the way. We'll be fine.
Yeah, and then we are, part of this process, as Laura, as Julie has up there, is determining what kind of, so when you have students who, for whatever reason, are struggling to get a certain concept, what do you do about that?
Right,
You know,
how do
so
you
what
teach them?
interventions do you have? And, you know, we've talked about, you know, working on RTI, you know, so what is available to teachers as a second tier to help those students who are having trouble? And then what kind of intervention program is more intensive for those 5% of the kids that, you know, really still struggle? You know, we have to
Because
make
they're
those
going-
decisions.
I mean, it just depends, mental maturity in terms of being able to handle, they're some, they're just not ready. And, let them, move them up as best you can, and also
nowhere to
keep those
intervene.
try to
That's one
keep
of the
those
things.
things going to build up so that they don't get anti-math, because it's so
Right,
easy to
right.
get anti-math.
That's not what we want. We want them
Yeah.
to feel successful, and at least we want them to not be afraid to try the new things and maybe the more challenging things that they would not have been exposed to without the new expectations.
Right.
And to build in one of the great things that came out of the last vertical team meeting was, okay, so what specifically will we use for interventions? How are we going to make sure that we know that our students really understand multiplication? And that was a great conversation, because usually that comes later, after you've gotten everything in place. But to have that conversation happening simultaneously with realigning and kind of reassessing is a great conversation to have. So now we can talk about what will the unit look like, what will the assessment look like, and what will the intervention look like, and everyone's ready for that conversation.
And one of the things, I mean, Paula's an expert in math, that's her field, right? And elementary people generally are not experts in any one content to the level of really understanding sometimes. I mean, you think, oh, elementary math, who can't teach that? But it's not really about just teaching kids an algorithm and saying, this is how you do it. It's really understanding the math yourself, so you can explain it carefully to students who may be struggling with it. You know, it's easy to just walk right into the algorithm. This is what you do. You cross out the 1, you cross out the 0, you make it a 1, you cross out the 0, you make it a 9. But if you don't understand what you're doing,
Right.
you know, that's a
Right.
problem. And I learned that myself when I was a 3rd grade teacher, and I had to teach, or 4th grade teacher, and I had to teach like 600 minus 397. And, oh, this is how you do it. And then I thought to myself, they don't get that. And so and I was, basically the curriculum called to use base 10 blocks, which are blocks of hundreds, blocks of tens, blocks of ones. And until I actually went through that myself and understood it, I said, that's why you do that. I really understood what the value of those places, those numbers meant. And if you look at the MCAS test, and I'm sure it's going to be true of the PARCC test, the vast majority of questions have to do with number sense and operations. And I think that's what Paul is getting
I'm
to.
always saying
Is,
that.
that's the emphasis, is number sense and operations. Because if you don't know how numbers work and what their value is and what they mean, and you can complete a worksheet, but that's not going to help you when you start getting into advanced math and skills that you have to apply.
Skills in those other those other 4 areas are based
The
in
domains are very
large
important.
on the numbers and operations set of
Well,
skills.
math is based on numbers and operations, isn't it? And understanding, how those things relate to one another and how they can be used interchangeably.
If you have that basis, then when we put an X next to that number, it doesn't seem so scary.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Well, just to build to what you just said, Julie, about success. We want the kids to be successful, and I always just get concerned that sometimes we set them up to fail. Because we're giving them things that one child might not necessarily get, and I just feel like that, the confidence level, once that's
Once that's
Yes.
there, you know it. You
Right.
see it and you know it, and they're
Yeah.
not afraid to take the chances.
right,
I
and I'm
agree.
just concerned
That
with with
mental
the smaller,
confidence.
with the younger kids. I just, just the maturity level is just my concern as to whether they're prepared for this.
Well, I think if we really pay attention to the way that it's done and what we're asking and how we train our teachers too, giving our teachers that professional development and that support in understanding what these frameworks call for and kind of being able to learn from people like Paula who have done this their
Right.
whole lives. Do you know what I mean? And really understand that conceptual piece. I think that what we'll do is we'll be able to identify earlier some of the things we may not have been able to identify before.
Yeah.
And we have that new assessment that we're using with MAP, and it has a lot of great opportunities for us to go back and just do quick little skill checks on some of our kids who we are questioning. You know, maybe it's numbers and operations, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's counting and counting. You know, what is it exactly that we need to really give that extra support in early so they can feel confident, and that's really what the goal is, for our kids to feel good
Right,
about
and math
that.
is intimidating, and you don't want
can
them to
be.
get
No,
into
we
that.
don't want
I
them to
hate
be
math.
intimidated,
You know,
not
you
at
don't want
all.
them to get into that mentality, because then it's almost like they never get out of it, and they just
Right.
kind of use that
And
as
the
a.
only reason why you feel like that is
I
because you're
agree.
not successful at it, and
Right.
that's what we need to keep in mind.
Well, the problem with math is there's a right and a wrong answer.
Right.
You know, like you write an English paper, and you can certainly write a beautiful paper, but math, it's, you know,
You
it's
know,
either right or
eventually you're
wrong.
gonna get to the right answer.
Yeah,
or
there's
right-
no
or you're gonna
shades of
forget to
gray.
carry.
There's no
and
shades
that,
of gray.
You know, but at least you
But-
have the confidence.
But there's
to
an
say,
but there is an
I do
opportunity
understand
to
it, I
come,
just forgot that one
come
piece.
at math
So
in a
that's a
different
big
way
deal.
sometimes.
I
But
agree.
you
You
do
know,
have
I
a lot
wanna
more
see
fun
that.
when you have mental confidence. I
Yeah.
mean, I always
Yeah,
enjoyed math
really,
in
really.
high school, and when I was going through this SAT practice test, I was like, oh, I haven't done this in so long, you know, and.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I'm
It
excited
was.
to try
It
this
is.
again.
And your son is saying, really, Mom? You
I know.
You know, but you know, if I weren't confident, if I hadn't had that experience of being
Right.
successful in
Exactly.
school, then I'm sure I wouldn't feel that way.
So Julie showed you how complicated the standards are in written form in that. So what's really important in the work of the vertical team that's gonna be important is to be able to pare all that down into what are the essentials, so that the teachers know, okay, so here I am a second grade teacher, these are the critical areas, these are the specific standards. And one of the things I think the standards have done, both in English language arts and math, is they have narrowed them a bit. It seems to me that there are not as many standards that are, I think, harder to understand. You know, I think they've simplified the language to some extent, and I do think that they've narrowed the focus, although they've brought it down. They've
Intensified the
right.
expectation, but they've cleaned it up.
So I think this work is going to be, you know, literally, teachers will get a map that will say, this is what you're required to teach, and we've talked about different formats, how that could take a look at that. But then teachers will be able to map out their year and have a sense that they're not gonna not get to the money unit or the measurement unit, like some teachers do. And the numbers, these standards will be integrated. So it's about building understanding, not just learning it and forgetting it.
They did a nice job from K through 8. You can see the progression, you know, and everything. They threw the kitchen sink at us in high school, but we can deal with that.
So I just have a question though for the K through 8 piece, which is, one of the things that always worries me about standards is that what happens when you have students in your class who've mastered?
Yep.
I mean, okay, my kid, you know, I have a third grade class and we're halfway through the year, and these students can all do the things that they're supposed to do by the end of third grade. Now what do I do with them?
Well, I mean, that's what we're gonna be able to account for. Whereas before, when our standards weren't by grade level, we didn't, you know, each district or each town kind of rewrote them in a way that dealt with their population. But
Right.
now we have very specific grade level expectations. So you would know a student in eighth grade who's ready to take a ninth grade exam, or a ninth grade course, or a student in fourth
But
grade who's
but at
ready
the
for
low-
No,
those
she's looking at the lower level.
projects.
She's saying like third grade kids that show that they've mastered the standards, that are gonna get exceeds on their report card.
So exceeds the standard.
Yeah,
right.
so the question is, what
do they
happens
do?
for them?
What do they do at school?
So it's my expectation that we would build in programs and build in projects and build in expectations for those students, because it would be a shame to think we don't have them in our schools right now. Of course we do.
Yeah.
We have those students. And so taking a look to figure out exactly how are we going to challenge them and give them the opportunities that they need to feel continuously successful in the
Right.
things that they know and can apply.
Everyday math allows that.
They do allow that. We have very
These
many
kinds of programs,
sections.
It's not like the old days where
You're
it
right.
was just a page of algorithm.
One
Once you-
worksheet,
Once you
done.
finished it, you were done.
Right.
It allows for that creativity. So again, when you break apart numbers, it's only your imagination that is, you know, that you're confined by. So I know, you know, we could talk all day about this, but so within the classroom, let's say in first grade, they call them the number boxes. So you're looking at a number 12. And if the goal is to find as many ways to show that number 12, you could spend hours and hours and hours, and children that have that good number sense, that's when they start subtracting and using multiples and showing different ways. If some children aren't there, their way of showing it might be 6 plus 6.
Right,
So it really there's no ceiling on what a child can do.
right.
But that might be something interesting for as you're
Yeah,
looking at
absolutely.
interventions, you might wanna also look at extensions. You know, are
And
there,
we do have quite a few references, as Margaret stated, through Everyday Math,
Yep.
that we can
you
start
can just, but if you
there
could
and
pull
then
them so
look in
teachers knew,
addition
this
to
is
that.
this is a good extension that you might wanna think about.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think they are.
They are
Yeah,
there.
it's in
Oh,
the
yeah, they're
program.
very much
But I'm
there.
talking, Margaret, on the map.
But just identifying
on
them
the map.
specifically for teachers would be what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you got two, you know, more advanced because they're more mental, you know, their maturity is great, and then you've got those that really struggle.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got these two
Right.
opposing arenas
Yeah.
that you've got to, you know, meet both needs.
Yeah.
But this one's the one you kind of the lower, and you got to be concerned about because you don't want to turn them off to math.
Right. But you also don't wanna turn the
You don't
top
wanna
kids
turn-
off.
No,
to
you
math
don't want
either.
to,
Either.
but the
It's not
top,
getting
but
bored.
yeah,
They're
I
working
find
out
it,
as
you
well.
know, they'll move, again, you've got two opposing,
Yeah.
and then the middle kind, they just go back, you know, from one to the side to the other kind of type thing.
Depends on the new thing that's being
Yeah.
introduced too.
Yeah.
So, right, we'll make sure that we look in both categories and
Yeah.
identify those expectations within our maps, for sure.
But yeah, you can start to give them, you know, project challengings, and it has it built in part of their,
Yeah.
into everyday math.
All right. And the last thing is we're piloting Park in grade 7 and Algebra 2 this year, as you know, because I know you had the Park conversation last
Oh,
time.
you did?
We got that
and-
letter.
Yes, you did. You know, I'm sure Carol told you, it's something that's happening in 340 districts across the state. So it's not just us and, you know, you can talk to anybody in any town. There'll be piloting something somewhere in some grade level for Park, so it'll be interesting.
We'll see what
Now,
happens.
the only when I look up information on Park, which I do all the time, a lot of times what comes up is the main concern about over-testing, like just putting this in right now is just a supplemental test, see how it goes.
Yeah.
So the things that I've read is, over-testing, what are my kids gonna be thinking about, they're all upset about MCAS and now you're throwing this in and.
Oh, you mean the Park Field test?
Exactly, just the field test. So,
I think that people probably feel like that because we're testing two.
well, I think the kids
two
too
things.
might be
Right,
feeling
We're
it.
testing two things, but we're not holding our students accountable to
Yeah,
the Park.
yeah, they're not, right, they're not
Right.
gonna get a grade
They're
on it.
not going, this isn't gonna
Yeah,
impact
and we're not
them.
even going to
No,
get
correct.
a
No.
grade. We're not
Right,
even
which
gonna
is
know.
hard for our students and our teachers, because we would like to know, in a sense.
Well, I agree, it's like you're taking this time to
But I
test it,
understand on
why
the other
can't
side,
we-
I
I'd
understand.
rather see them pilot the test, because
Me
if they
too.
just, if they don't do that,
To just
they're
get
gonna put the
that.
test out there, it's not gonna be vetted, it may not be valid or reliable, and then we're gonna get results that aren't gonna be anything we can use. So there's just not an easy way to do it. I'm curious, after 2 years of piloting it, whether or not it stands the test of time, or the
Right.
MCAS ends up being the test is given. It won't be 2 tests, it won't be MCAS math and Park test, it's really,
It's gonna be
this
one or
is the
other.
pilot, so that they can calibrate the kind of questions that they're asking.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I know, it's tough,
It's a
but
tough year in that
But
way, and we do
I
have a
think
lot of
also
those
there's something
shifts.
about the way you present it to the kids.
that's right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all the
And I think the
presentation.
teachers
You've
know,
been
we've
asked
talked
to
to them.
Yeah,
Answer some questions that's gonna help the state determine how we should move forward.
Yeah.
Period. We just wanna know what your answers to these questions
Yeah.
are. Oh, they
Right.
look like a
Yeah,
math
yeah, yeah.
test, but it's not,
Right.
can you answer these?
Yeah, and try not to
Right.
just fill in C.
Yeah.
Try, but we don't,
You
you
gotta
know, want you to feel
understand.
like, you know, you can
We're
sit
teenagers,
here.
you know.
I'm sure the schools
Question till
will,
the end of the day.
we'll keep it in perspective, cause it is something we're always balancing, cause this has been this is a tough year when you think about the extra testing. It's just been a
It
busy
is.
year with all the initiatives.
All the initiatives.
I mean, we're all feeling this.
I feel like every time I'm
this-
sitting in front of you, I'm
But
talking
they
about
did, had to
something
do
new.
the same thing when MCAS
know.
came
They
back
did,
in
yeah.
1999.
We just
Just
forget that
overwhelmed.
it's been
They did.
since 1999.
And they
we're
did
trying the
change
best
the
we can
problems,
just to
because they were
keep it
very
down.
poorly written.
Yes.
Very poorly written
Yes.
at first, so they made it better, So-
It is exciting. I
I mean,
love-
there's a lot
I
of
love
great
all the
things
stuff that
going
you're
on.
doing.
It's just,
Too
it's
much
all
too
happening
fast,
at
that's
the
the
same time.
challenge.
Yeah, that's.
But, you know, yeah, I can't go on for 10 years. So, you know, I think we're up
Right,
for 3 or
even they
4
have to get
tough
tired of the
years, but
initiative
I
days.
think then it'll level
Because
out a little
they
bit.
haven't done anything to the year it counts, 10th grade.
Yes, they haven't.
We're still, you know, MCAS.
No
Right,
graduation
right.
They, I mean, they might
changes or
incorporate
anything
kind
like
of
that.
a little style maybe part, but not like they did in
Well,
7th and
well,
8th.
Yeah, well, one of the things Park is talking about is
Yeah.
making it an 11th grade test, which I think
Yeah.
people are sternly objecting to, because at least now, if it's 10th grade and they don't pass it, they have 2 years to
Right.
take an extra course, to get extra remediation, to stay after school and take the, you know, tutoring. If you do it in 11th grade, you're really putting kids at a
Well, that
disadvantage if you're
becomes a
keeping
question
it.
to the state. What
Well,
did they
believe
do?
me, we're all arguing at the state level
Yeah.
about that. That was,
Good
when
for
that
you.
came up, superintendents got all over that and said, that is just not fair to the kids. Because you know, if you,
It
it's a graduation requirement. You have to make sure that you give kids an opportunity to have some time to learn what, you know, what the weaknesses are, take
But
a.
it can't be both 10th and 11th, you know.
No, they were talking about moving it, Paula, to 11th grade. And that's why we were saying, no, don't do, why would you do that?
Keep speaking up, please.
Why
No,
would you do that?
I don't understand what their rationale with that would be.
I don't
Give
know
kids
either.
more time to
don't
pass
know.
the test. It's like,
Right, but
but
you-
the problem is, what, if you don't pass
Don't
the
pass it,
test,
You don't have enough time.
you don't have enough, you have less time to
But why are
do
you
something.
putting that burden on the juniors and when the juniors already have it with the
taking SATs,
PSA,
getting
I
ready
mean,
for college.
SOP
They
and
already have the
PSATs and SATs.
Yes.
Because
I
you're a
mean,
teacher, so that's,
the
you
SATs.
understand that, what the
Right.
challenges
doing
are,
the
but
work
the
every
people
day,
making the
you see how
decision
that
don't
would impact.
necessarily think of it that way.
To communicate
And
that.
That's right.
I'm glad to hear though that
Yeah.
you all recognize that.
We are
as-
just saying that is not right. So, you know, we're gonna do our best to,
And you're pretty united on that?
oh, very united on
Oh,
that.
good.
So we don't get to be the one who makes the final decision, so
Right.
all we can do is voice our opinion and say we don't think it's good for kids, and we'll see where it
Parents,
goes.
you need to get your voice in there.
I know.
You're right.
I know.
You're right. People
And
need
they
to
will
speak
do
up.
parent
It's-
surveys,
it's
I'm
good to-
sure.
I know,
Oh, good.
we would, as probably teachers as
Oh,
well.
absolutely
We would.
would. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
they're still in the development stages of all of that.
Everyone's voice is powerful.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
that's
Thank you,
great.
Paula,
Thank
for
you very
coming, and
much,
Julie,
guys.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Go study for your test.
Yes, you can leave now, Mary Beth. Sure you do well on that test. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Just wanna make sure everybody, don't forget to read the Pembroke Gazette.
Yeah, that's
I look
cute.
forward
I
to
saw
this
it.
every time it comes out.
All those newsletters.
They're all great, yep.
Dr. Tanner's newsletter, I missed that. So I like when I get the packet. I used to sit down, I used to put it aside when I had that extra time to just sit there and read it. I loved your words of wisdom.
Yes.
Me too. Okay,
So the Gale.
yes, financial report, okay. The approval of the turf field invoice, which we have.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just, is this the invoice? Oh,
Yeah, it's at the, yeah,
yes, it's at the back.
it's in the back. Is it?
No, Laura, where? Oh, okay, so that's, okay, thank you. We're not in the right section, apparently. Financial report.
Okay,
Oh,
here it
there
is.
it is, yes,
Okay.
thank you, Laura.
So this,
Okay, that's the one.
this is an additional one? Or did we approve
Just
this
think
last time?
about this, I thought this is the one you already approved.
It is, because I said the wrong amount last time, and then I
This is
had
the
to.
one for the work that was done for the borings, I believe.
It is?
Okay, well, then we should approve it.
We'll just, yeah,
Just approve it, and then if we've approved it twice, well,
yeah, that's all right, we can, that's all right.
that's all right.
We can
Just
do
make it easier and just
That's
approve
all
it. But this is for the digging of the additional borings.
Okay, right. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve Gale Associates invoice number 1401288 dated February 19th, 2014, in the amount of $5,342.33.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're gonna move along to subcommittee reports. Budget and finance, Rob's not here.
No, we don't have a meeting
we don't
scheduled either on that.
Well, you must have been busy with the,
Yeah, I don't think right now, I don't think we need, a meeting. We just, I don't know what we're gonna do about the 19th
19th.
with Sandy Garrity. I did check with Chris, as to, when the National Honor Society thing ends, and, I said, if it was 8 or
begins
8:30.
at 6:30.
I know, so
It's early.
usually it's over in an hour and 15 minutes. So, I said to him, if we were to do something, if we had to go to the finance committee and we could arrange something 8 or 8:30, could I make it? And he said, yes, you'd probably even have time for cake. So, so I could, if you want, I just don't know if there's other members that wanna come as well, cause I know you're not available at
Right,
the time.
I cannot attend, a meeting on March 19th, which is next Wednesday night with the finance committee to
Remember
go
how
over
they
the
said,
budget.
Pam, they thought they might want
Right,
us to
and
come back?
You already checked?
Oh, right.
I think that is on my calendar.
No, that was just,
No,
that
it's
date
not.
was just
Okay.
thrown out last night
Oh,
by
okay.
Sandy.
So, I mean,
On the 19th.
we can go, Sandy was talking about getting,
'Cause that's the night of the National Honor
Honor
Society.
Society.
I know you said
That's
you
right.
and
That's
Maria-
right, that's why.
That's
So I verified with Krista Franco that probably be over by 8. Now, I don't know if the FinCom wants to see us at 8, but I would, if that's the consensus of the group, I would offer that, and Joan and I would plan to go. And, Sandy has offered that she's going to try to collect questions ahead of time, so at least we could know what the questions were.
And Joan is back by then?
Oh, actually, Joan's
Yeah,
not
she's
there on the
not back.
19th.
that
So
was
that's
your
that's
problem.
what I was thinking, that if they were to generate the questions ahead of time, then I could determine whether or not I could answer them. I obviously can't answer all of them
I
if they
know.
require Joan. But, I think most of their questions may involve, they weren't sure what the format was. I could see that they were asking questions that were clearly laid out in the descriptions. So
And you could answer
I
that.
think I could answer most of the budget questions, but if there's anything I'm not sure about, of course, I will offer to get back to them. But I think the challenge that's gonna happen now is if FinCom has questions and if no one's able to go on the 19th, then I'm not sure how they get their questions answered. Because they're, town meeting's gonna happen and the warrant's closed and they've gotta debate and deliberate. So I don't know, I just think we probably should make an effort if we can,
Yes.
as long as they are able to see us at 8 or 8:30.
Right.
And I'd love
That
the questions ahead of time, because then we could at least know what, what the main issues are.
So should we, so what we'll do is we'll send out an email to the committee asking if they can go on the 19th.
Right. Well, yeah, whoever wants to come, sure, like if you want Pam and Rob to come
Because
again,
they're-
like, cause they're the budget and finance,
Yeah.
and everybody else is certainly welcome.
But we'll have to
Um,
find out from Sandy if eight
If
or 8:15
8:15 or
works for
works,
them.
that's right,
Because the National Honor Society is over here at the high school.
correct. Yep, it usually runs, my recollection and Chris' support is usually it runs an hour, and then they have like a little cake and coffee reception in the cafeteria.
It's really nice.
It's very nice,
Yeah,
it's very nice,
it
I
is.
love that ceremony. So if
Okay,
you
so I
like,
guess we'll start off with Sandy, I'll
We'll try,
ask
start with
Sandy.
Sandy, that's
Okay.
right, okay, perfect.
Okay, governance,
We met tonight, we reviewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 policies. We'll have
It's a lot.
revisions for you for next time on 2 of them, one's just a typo. And we'll be discussing some new policies next time, that
Yeah, Joan had a series of policies that she was hoping to bring forward, so I'm gonna check with her when she comes back. We're
And then
gonna
also a
hope-
social media policy.
And,
we're
yeah, we
gonna
wanna
be
talk about this, we just wanna review the
looking-
social media.
Look at the
again.
concussion stuff,
good.
so,
Great, so did you have questions about
Yeah.
this? She did, okay.
I have notes. about
Okay,
that.
perfect.
So those will be in the minutes.
okay,
Great.
you guys are busy, that's good.
Moving right along.
Yeah, good. Okay, negotiating, we have met, with the custodian union as well as the cafeteria workers union, and things are going well. We have a bunch of meetings, already plugged in, and, we hope that they continue to go well, which I
Yeah,
can't
we're
foresee they
hoping,
will.
it's really a couple meetings,
They won't,
yeah, it's going very well.
Public relations, was your meeting canceled today?
Yeah.
It was, but we rescheduled for the 26th.
Yes.
Is that right? At which time we'll be going over social media and blog and district satisfaction survey.
Yeah, we wanna
Possibly.
start working on district satisfaction survey. That's in the strategic goals, and that's something that I've wanted to do for a while, so
Yes, you
I
have.
think I think if we can move that forward, that would be really great to do.
No, the survey that went out for the, school, for the, school council, that,
Yeah.
when do those results show up?
They show up, they show up in the school improvement plans. What the principals do is they utilize those results, and then they use it to formulate
The improvement plan.
implement.
Okay.
But I mean, you could certainly, if they have a summary, we certainly could provide those to
Yeah.
you. That's
I
it's
would
nothing
just-
secret. It's just
Yeah.
that's where it comes from, is they use it to help with their improvement planning.
What I'm interested in knowing is how many people participate.
Yep, well, Peter actually, shared some information with me today. He was very excited about, because you know how he loves technology.
Mhm.
So, on the survey, very high numbers of people expressed an the people who responded, which ended up being about 27% of his population, middle high school
Okay.
population, which is typical for surveys.
Yeah.
Just thinking that's good.
Said that they were they would be very interested in a one-to-one laptop initiative, even if they had to purchase or lease it. So it's just kind of interesting that, it's becoming more, more commonplace.
Well, it is definitely more common. You hear,
Yeah.
I have friends in other districts that they're like, what do you mean you don't have to do that? I had to buy mine.
Right.
So it is,
right.
it is
So
interesting.
he was pretty excited about the fact that that showed up on the survey, and, but that's generally, the satisfaction survey results are generally used by the school council, teachers to, kind of evaluate where they think they are in relationship to the goals they have now, and what they think, as a result of the data would imply that they should continue to work on it, or set a goal up around it.
Okay. Safety got canceled, right?
It did.
Yeah, that'll come, yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
And school building committee, I know Rob said he couldn't make the meeting on Tuesday night, but Pam
I did.
was there, and you
Yes.
gave great notes, thank you.
Sure.
For
I
those notes.
was there, and I had to leave once they got to the Pembroke portion.
You're right.
But I was there for the Georgetown Middle High School renovation project portion. And they gave the final figure for the total project, including contingency, is $7,805,726. Subject to a maximum reimbursement of $3,835,768, which includes a contingency of about $150,000. And so we're getting a reimbursement rate of 52% on all reimbursable expenses. And that would leave $3,969,958 to be raised by the town of Georgetown.
It's between 3 million, 3,000,009 and, or 4.1 million. Because not everything is
Okay.
clear yet what it's a range,
Okay.
yeah, but it's
And-
in that ballpark.
And that includes a contingency of
Under four.
$430,000.
Yeah.
Which means we might not need to use that, that might go
Might
back
not.
to the town.
You might not, that's right.
And the timeline is, MSBA is going to vote on a final approval of the scope and agreement of the project on March 26th.
Right
Yeah,
around the
Carol.
corner.
To go into Boston. Now, Barbie, or whomever, that is the meeting they like to see the people from the community. So,
Oh.
yeah, that's the one with the treasurer, everybody shows up, usually they, I end up usually talking, cause I'm usually the one that's there, but they do like to see, a member, usually the chair of the school committee or a member of the school committee. Usually the town administrator will go in some towns, I'm not sure if Mike's gonna be able to make it, obviously I go, Pat and Chuck from our OPMs, but it's this whole community thing.
They like to see
They
that?
like to see people,
Can you
thanking.
send us the
Mhm.
details
Yeah,
about that
'Cause
meeting?
where
Just
is that?
It's in Boston.
Right.
It's at the MSBA building on Broad Street. It's on I think their meetings are on the second floor. We usually go to the fifth floor, so the meeting's on the second floor.
Is that
It's a
downtown
big-
financial?
Oh, yeah, right
Yeah.
downtown,
Yeah.
right downtown.
Okay.
Again, generally people go, they have to wait their turn, cause usually it's a lengthy agenda. Usually you're out of there, well, out of there by everybody's done by 11 or 11:30 or 12.
And it begins
But,
at 9?
but if you have, you know, where you are on the agenda, what's commonly the case is people leave when their thing is done, you know. So, yes, it starts generally at 10 o'clock.
10, and you're out by 11, 11:30?
Usually they're out by noon, I think.
Okay.
I'll get the details for sure, cause I can also find out where we are on the agenda. But again, everybody doesn't have to come, but, you know, they do like to
Public
see,
relations meeting.
they do like to see,
Oh.
representation.
That's your next PR meeting. Is it the morning?
That's our PR meeting.
Wasn't there another meeting, another day, like the 31st?
I don't know what I
that was
I
an
have to go to the
option?
MSBA, that's not a choice for me, but it would be great, you know, if there, one or two members of the committee wanna come. It's,
How do you park?
you park, you find
Park.
it. Yes, you do.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of
That's why,
garages
you know,
right
if one
there.
or two, yeah, if one or two people went, you could maybe
There's
carpool
one by
or something.
Arch Street, yeah.
So we should reschedule public relations.
I think
then.
so, if that's, I didn't realize it was scheduled during that time, but,
Yeah.
but we'll get you the details on it in case
If
you're
there's,
interested,
if
but
they wanna
it
see
is,
people,
it is kind of a big deal to have some representation from the town there,
Okay.
because, you know, they like to hear, thank you so much for, you know, for being partners with us, and 52% of
be
a
able to do
project
that.
is not chump change, you know, it's a
Oh,
significant
right.
investment
it's
on their
very,
part.
yes.
So, you know,
They're-
it's,
they're-
it's
very
well
generous.
received, let me just say that, when there's a few people from town there.
Yes, so then there will be a community information night on the renovation project, and that will be the week of April 28th through May 2nd. That's a Monday through Friday there. So that's the week after school vacation. It will be at night at the Georgetown Middle High School.
But it
And there'll
hasn't
be,
been,
that will include a tour of the school as well.
okay,
Oh, good.
but it hasn't been, like a date hasn't been
The date has
decided,
not been
okay,
set
that's
yet.
fine, okay.
And then town meeting will be on May 5th. The school building committee would like to offer a tour before town meeting also.
Sure.
So there'll be 2 opportunities to take a tour.
Yeah, we'll figure that out,
And then May 12th will be the election.
okay, so I'm gonna write a note to speak to Mike about that.
You know, and also just briefly, they talked about how the project scope had been reduced from 15 million to 7.8 million by through value engineering to cover only the required scope by MSBA and NEASC. So it relieves overcrowding, it reconfigures the grade levels served, it brings special education classrooms up to code, it repairs the drainage system and water damage, and it replaces the roof, which the MSBA has determined to be completely necessary. And just the roof alone is $2.5 million. What the
And
town,
50% of it would be paid for, whereas if you replace it on your own, that's a big
Right.
ticket for the town.
so we would have to do that anyway, so
On
it's
our own,
basically
right.
another million for everything else in
Right.
terms of what the town would have to pay. And so that's basically it.
Okay.
Thank you. Open on my calendar. Okay.
I guess just the Health and Wellness Committee is going to be meeting again on March 17th.
Yep.
And April 14th,
Yes.
and
What times are those meetings?
those are
Are they still
3
at,
o'clock.
after the,
3 to 4:30.
3 to 4:30.
both of them?
Yes.
Were we gonna try and do like some at 3 and then other time, then later in the, wasn't that discussed? Like we were gonna try and,
I don't recall that being
no?
discussed in the recent
thought we-
past.
I thought we talked about that.
Well, I think maybe
the
we talked
beginning.
about it, but I think the Health and Wellness Committee, you know, found that time is when they can get the majority of the people there.
And there are a lot of
There are-
staff
There
that
are
are
three, but there are
coming,
3 or
so-
4 parents,
Yes.
yeah, that
Yes, yes.
are there.
Yeah.
4, actually, weren't there 4 or 5 there last time?
Right, I didn't.
The
I
lady
don't
over
remember
there,
counting.
yeah, I think there were 5.
Yeah,
so we're-
yeah.
It was actually a
Um,
good meeting. And I
And
think the
hopefully they'll,
next thing they're talking about is the health fair, which
Yes,
is gonna
that's
be
coming up.
on,
it's gonna be on April
April
5th,
5th.
Saturday, between 8 and 11 at the Pembroke School. There are gonna be a lot of fun vendors selling things, but a lot of informational,
Same day as the
medical
Kiwanis,
people.
so you can go to the breakfast and go to the health
Yeah,
fair
that
and.
was a good idea to do that back
That's
to back.
right. Then I think we're gonna have an update on what the committee has been doing at
Yes.
the next school committee meeting.
Well,
and
yeah,
we'll
I think we
also-
have it just set on our tentative calendar for April 10th. But if, one of the things this committee, the committee, Well Health and Wellness Committee is talking about is the risk behavior survey, which obviously we would want to try to do this spring. So it may make sense to move that whole discussion up, have then make a presentation on the tool, get your approval perhaps for that, and then at the same time do a health and wellness update.
Right, because the Health
That
and
would be on
Wellness
March
Committee did
27th.
review and make a recommendation on that survey, so.
Yep. But we have to put a packet together for
Yes,
them,
yes.
that's why I think it didn't make it on today, cause there really wasn't, that didn't happen, it didn't come together. So we don't wanna be asking them to approve something that important without some background knowledge of it, so.
Right.
So March 27th, we're gonna put the wellness committee update and the approval
Yes.
of the, survey. Okay,
Yes.
sure.
Okay,
There was, sorry, special education.
oh,
There was a CPAC meeting on the 25th, and it was going to be getting to yes, but there was only one other parent, so that didn't really work so well.
Yeah, it's
There
busy.
is an upcoming meeting this last week of March. I don't remember what it's about, but details will be out, so people can find out.
Should put it on our Facebook page,
Put it on the Facebook
district
page,
page.
okay? I don't remember. And I will be going to the CREST meeting, actually, the March 19th, the morning of March 19th, I need to be at that,
Right,
collaborative meeting
right,
in Methuen.
okay.
okay. In your packet, the Baker Adams.
I think it's gonna be language-based learning disabilities is the
Oh,
subject,
that's a good subject.
yeah, of
Yeah.
the meeting coming up, the special.
That's a very
CPAC meeting coming up,
hot
I
topic.
believe. Wait to see it confirmed on Facebook.
Okay. So in the packet is the Baker Adams Scholarship, that we have been working on, so if you have any questions for that.
Yeah, I think we had talked about putting it in the packet and letting people take a look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any,
Great work.
and then if you could look at it and, we were gonna try to approve it next meeting.
Yep, okay.
So we could get it out to the schools, so if you review it and you have any questions. Barbie, did you guys have anything you wanted to point out, that you think is important to draw people's attention to?
I like the scoring page, I think that's,
That was one thing people asked
helpful
about.
Yeah, the
guide.
scoring is definitely a difficult part of that.
it is, it is.
Well, we moved things around. I mean, I think some of the biggest changes that we made in this was really to be very transparent with students about how these are being evaluated. And also, we worked hard to make sure we were aligning what we were looking for with what we could, the best that we could understand the wishes of Baker Adams. So we worked really hard on that. So the changes that you'll see is that we show that the essay is going to be counted as 40% of the weight of it will be 40%. I know one of the things as a committee we struggled with was how to, school and community engagement. And so we've separated employment history from school activities from community service and asked students to list those three things separately so that we can look at them separately.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about that. And then, academic accomplishment, how much did we want to weight that? Since that wasn't something that Baker Adams emphasized, we felt it was important, but that it shouldn't be given as much weight as we felt the community perhaps perceived it as having. We really changed the financial section so that we're just looking at what are the costs that you anticipate for going to college and what's unmet. So to explain. So we're not looking at, we're not looking at any of the calculations done in a financial aid application, but can you explain to us what your unmet need is? And again, how did we weight that?
But you didn't wanna use the
5%?
technical, I don't know, is this the technical term that's used in the FAFSA
What's that?
Application, the FAFSA is the application for financial aid.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
chose not to go with that.
Okay.
And we had a whole,
Okay.
we had hours of discussion about that. We went back and forth, really, take a look at the prompt. That's something that we went back and forth on quite a bit. And also note that we put a 500-word limit that gives us, the average typed, double-spaced college, or high school essay would have 250 words per page. So this is a two-page essay approximately, so,
Do students know that that means 2 pages?
we could put that in there, I mean, that's one thing, but I think 500 words, 2 pages, if you think back to some of the essays we've read in the past, we asked for a 2-page essay. Some came in double-spaced, some came in single-spaced, some came in 14-point font, some came in 10-point font. So, by putting a word
Okay.
limit on there, you get a much more equitable, you're asking for the same thing and not what their interpretation is. I mean, I know students know how to either make something look like 2 pages
Yes.
or how to cram a lot of words into 2 pages when they start using technology. We've added a letter of recommendation that we feel will help us to validate some of what the students' self-reports are, particularly, in their participation. We've asked them to list leadership positions, so, if somebody was in the Key Club, were you an officer in the Key Club, or were you just in the Key Club for one semester? We're trying to, be able to distinguish between that. And then we put the scales in, for our, scoring, trying to make it easier for the committee. So any feedback on that would be welcome.
It's gonna get some consistency, the
Yeah.
way you look at it, so I
Yeah.
think that's a great idea.
I'm just trying to picture though the spreadsheet that we have this on.
Spreadsheet, we have what on?
Well,
Pam?
when,
The results, you
The
mean,
results,
between
when
all the
we
results.
We have to
evaluate.
change that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have to be.
because before it was 25, 25, 25, so
Right.
you just add those up and you divide by
No, you're not,
4.
well, you were,
and-
I'll create an Excel.
Yeah, didn't you say that your
Yeah.
husband was a great
He's
Excel?
at a
like-
great at
good.
Excel, so nobody's gonna have to worry about doing any math. I
good.
think you're just gonna take for
Yeah, we'll
each,
have to just
for
do
each
the-
applicant, you're gonna
Yes, we
have a
just had
score
a
sheet,
math.
you're just gonna circle the numbers,
My kid.
and then we'll just enter the numbers, and the Excel sheet is
Formula
gonna,
will be in there.
So you're gonna send
yes.
Oh,
a
yes, that'll
spreadsheet
all
to
be
us.
taken
Yeah,
And
once-
it'll all be
not-
set up with formulas,
Yeah,
and it'll
it's
all
not-
be, it won't
Once
take
we
a.
approve this,
Okay,
not
good,
yet.
I like that.
But once we approve it, so the idea is.
I just was kind of like, am
consistency
I gonna
and
have to like
clarity
figure
and-
out those formulas?
No,
'Cause
no,
that's,
no, no,
oh,
no,
okay,
no,
good,
no,
good.
no, we're gonna make it.
It's actually been an interesting project.
It
I've
has
enjoyed
been
it.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been good
It's been good,
conversations,
good
good
discussion,
discussions.
yeah.
And, yeah, Carol, I mean, I trust your judgment implicitly.
Well, it's
I mean,
good,
you're- Well, your
We had
your
the chief of
father
police-
set up a
Yeah, we-
similar type of.
But
su-
somebody
so
who
you're
knew
really
Baker
familiar.
Adams actually
we
came
had-
and
yeah,
talked
we
to
had
us.
Chief Cudmore came and gave
Oh,
us a little
wow.
background, so we
We-
had a little better
we-
flavor
Well,
for
he
it.
did he know?
He
Did he
did.
know?
He,
I thought
I
he
don't
talked
think
to
he
some-
did. He did not know Baker Adams, but what he did is he
to his
talked to,
best buddies.
he
like-
talked to people
yeah.
that knew Baker Adams to
Okay.
get
He
a.
spent a lot of
feeling.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He
Got
looked
a
into
lot
it.
of, and yeah, he spent a morning with us
He
too.
really wanted to make
telling
sure
us.
that he was recognized for all of his
Yeah,
commitment to the town.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
that was good.
A lot of
hopefully.
good primary
Look
source
forward
research.
to your feedback.
Okay, so new business will first accept another Pembroke
Yep.
donation.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Kopp generously donated $400 to be used toward the purchase of an iPad at Pembroke in conjunction with the Box Tops for Education contest.
That's great.
Very nice.
Yes, we're very, very
Yes,
appreciative
very
of it.
appreciative of that. Thank you to the Cobb family. So the chair will
Yes.
entertain a motion to accept the $400 donation from the Cobb family with gratitude as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very nice.
Mhm. And finally,
Surplus.
Paul Schwam, who is our library media staff person at the high school, has identified televisions that need to be declared surplus because they're obsolete. So included in the packet is a list of these items. You know, I'm asking you to declare them as surplus. There's actually 11 televisions to be disposed of by proper protocol. So I think there is a protocol where, you know, they can be made available to other departments and then, you know, people in town. And if they're not if people aren't interested in them, then they become, usually, these kind of things, usually there are companies that come and actually dispose of them properly for you.
Really? Okay, cause I think Best Buy takes
And maybe,
televisions of this vintage.
okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
I know,
Good
cause
to
I'm
know.
about to dispose of one.
So the chair will entertain a motion to declare the 11 televisions at the Georgetown Middle High School as surplus to be disposed of by proper protocol as presented.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we have to do the polling.
We do.
Yeah.
The only other thing is this, we put it on your table. This has to do with, the turf project.
Bless you.
And the stack committee and let me just get my, there, oh, this is the wetlands, okay. So the turf project, as you recall from the conversations that, presentations you've had, some of the project extends into the buffer zone, which is the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So when the last meeting occurred, the Conservation Commission, agreed to have it move forward to the, what do they call it? The process by which an independent person, reviews the plans and then determines, whether or not everything is copacetic, I think. So we just received this, today. That's why it's coming for you tonight. I apologize for that. And they're looking for assurance, basically, that the town will pay for this work. And so, because the school committee's been improving all of the expenses and then forwarding them to the CPC, wanted to make sure that the committee had the opportunity to do that tonight, because what we don't wanna do is hold up this process.
Upset them.
Already,
That way.
there was a meeting that, was kinda missed, and so we're trying to keep this on some kind of a timeline. So if you're so inclined, this is the proposal to provide the peer review wetland consulting services for that project at the middle high school. And, this is the contract, the fees for service.
So this $6,000 fee will be paid out of the money that the CPC.
That's my understanding,
Okay.
so generally, what you do with all those kind of things,
Yep, we
you
approve
sign
them
them, you assign them, and then it goes over to the CPC for payments.
So this will come out of
Town
the
money.
total project,
Yes,
money.
yes, it will.
Okay. Was this something we were expecting?
Well, generally, the Concom requires,
I know
a
that,
site
yeah.
review.
But what, was it, I was surprised at the amount.
Oh,
Of-
that I'm not sure
Yeah, I was
about.
just-
I guess I'm not
Okay.
that surprised at the amount, judging from the different things that I've been seeing come forward. Even the conversation last night at the building committee, because there needs to be a change in the way the fields are structured, that it planned out on the Pembroke project. It was like an $8,000, fee to change the plan. It didn't look like a huge significant, but I guess, as Carl explained it, it is quite a project for the civil engineers to have to look at all the elevations, and, I mean, it looks like a simple job, but apparently it's not so simple.
Now,
So-
did John Pingree, who's the chair of the stack, does he know about this?
I believe he knows that there's gonna be a peer review, because he
Yeah.
was at the conservation. Because I literally just received this
Yeah.
today, the stack committee did not have a chance to review it. But I guarantee you, the stack committee would not want to wait till the next stack committee, then
Yeah.
wait till the next school committee meeting to approve this. Generally, they wait until they have an agreed, it's, everything is signed off on. But if you read this note, Steve basically says, as long as we have some guarantee
Of
that it's
payment.
going to be paid, then, we can move forward with it. And obviously, because we had a meeting tonight, it made sense to me, and I raised it with Barbie, is there a way to just approve it so that, it can be forwarded on to the appropriate placement?
Okay, so if there's no such, it's not like an invoice, this is like.
No, this is a
this is like a
proposal. This is a
proposal,
cost
okay.
proposal.
So,
So you would approve that, this will help you right here, I think.
Yeah, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the proposal to provide peer review wetland consulting services at the middle high school athletic facility
For George.
for Georgetown by the BSC Group in the amount of $6,075 and no cents. As presented.
So, second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
That committee will be very happy.
Yep, that's good. Okay, so now polling.
Finally,
Yeah.
polling. So, obviously, I think we were all caught a little by surprise the other night when, we were asked about the polling situation. So, it is what it is, and I think good points were raised, and at this point in time, I sense strongly that everybody wanted to work together on this, so I met with Joan, Mike, conferenced in with Donna Tanner and Chief Cudmore the other day, and we discussed the 3 problematic things that we see, which I've identified here in terms of traffic flow, parking, and security. And as you can see from looking at this proposal, we have a number of people who have jobs that they've agreed to take on. We have a plan for when we're going to do what. In terms of traffic flow, it will require some additional funding from some source to allow additional police details. The chief is going to redirect one of his day folks to come up during the drop-off time so if you can imagine, that area, you have that parking lot at the top. So he's envisioning one over here on the circle, one sort of at the base of that parking lot, and one at the bottom of the hill. So that there's, traffic flow coming up and down the hill. And obviously at the times of the day when it's not as intensive in terms of traffic and parking challenges, he would have the officer go inside and just be in the lobby, just kind of be in there. Ellie Sinkowitz the other night at the building committee did remind our OPM and the architect and asked them to talk to the general contractor, which was done because Mike Anderson was at the meeting, to say, what can we do about, on that particular day, restricting the amount of trucks that come up and down. And, they said that they were gonna coordinate with the groups that had deliveries, and, it didn't seem like, because if you go up there now, you see all of the trucks and the people working in the construction zone are in the zone. So once they're in there, that's fine. It's really the people coming in and out, that the trucks coming in and out with deliveries that is problematic. So if they can control that and have them come either the day before or the day after, then that should help with that. Then of course, in terms of the parking, Donna says they're actually one slot short for parking spaces for the staff there. And if you go in, you notice there are some spots lost by where some of the construction equipment is set up there. So the lot, some ideas were, can you have this, the staff park other places and shuttle them? We decided not to go in that direction. Because, really it sounds like the worst of the traffic comes at certain strategic parts of the day. And as long as we can keep that parking lot at the top open. The other thing I asked Mike to do was to research with the engineer whether or not we can, because I just don't know whether there'd be any opportunity to park any cars on that first field. Because remember, there's gonna be no snow, hopefully the mud season's over. It's not, if people could park there and then run in and run out.
We're not using it for
We're not
anything
using it for
else.
anything, and we're gonna completely redo that field anyway. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but he was gonna chat about it with Jim Luker and see whether or not that's an option.
We'll
If
create a
not, it'll
solution.
be,
That would be
if it's
helpful.
not, it'll be, that parking lot in the street up and down. And the police officer will help. Mike's gonna get some cones, because one of the big issues at the end of the day is, voters will come and they'll park it in the lane where the buses have to come. And then the problem is, if the buses come in, we don't know whose car it is, and we can't seem to solve that problem. And, so the buses can't get through, and if you've been there, so it's a hardship. So the thinking there was we're just gonna cordon those spots off so that when the buses come, everybody will know they're for the buses, and concentrate on the voter parking up in the front area of the school as opposed to near that back parking lot. Although, at 3:00 or 3:15, anybody that wants to use that lot can use it, because, the staff will be, many staff will be leaving at that point, the buses are through, we don't have any concerns.
Right.
So it really is during the day that's restricted, but, when it's busy at night, because, they are expecting a fairly significant turnout for this particular, election. And then, unfortunately, the students have to have indoor recess. We just can't come up with another solution that gives the kids a place to play. So we'll make it work. Donna will tell the teachers that they won't be able to go out. In terms of security, we made some improvements to security the last election, and we're gonna keep that going this year. Having some signage and a separate entrance, as you come by the bike rack and you go out toward the playground, there's that door in the side. We'll stanchion that off apparently so that everybody knows if you're voting, you're coming in that door and you're going out that door. So it's not, the secretary's not answering the buzzer a million times, and we're not having, the voting public interacting with the traffic coming into the school. So that's how we're gonna solve
So there
that
are
issue.
signs as they go to the front of Pembroke, before they go down those two long hallways, there's gonna be
Oh,
signs,
well,
not
no,
houses, outside.
Yes,
There's gonna be a
yes,
sign
and
that
that's
will
what it
say
was last time,
voting
voters that way,
around
yeah,
the
yeah,
corner.
exactly. And Mike Anderson is gonna take responsibility, for doing that. And Chief Cudmore, the morning of, he's gonna coordinate a dry run, and he's got everybody that he'll have assigned as officers, and they'll have a dry run. Mike will be there, Donna will be there, obviously. They'll go through it, and so, I don't need to go through the tasks and timeline, you can read that. Everybody's got their responsibilities, and, we will be sending out a Connect Ed message
Oh, good.
on 5/9, which is the Friday before, and Chief Cudmore is gonna be sending out a code red on Sunday. So, we'll utilize those resources.
It's a good plan, I think it's a great
Well,
plan that you came up with.
We'll make it work.
Yep.
We'll make it work.
Always do.
Mike will go over it with Jan McGrain, the week before, and, everybody will be copacetic. But, it doesn't really require an approval from you.
Right.
But if it looks like something that's gonna work for
Thank you
you,
for sharing
then
it,
what I will
because
do
it's-
is I will get it out to the appropriate people so that everybody can,
It also sounds very well thought out.
be
I
rest
mean,
assuring,
yeah,
rest assured.
considered every aspect, I mean, it's been a lot of good collaboration, so.
Yeah, people are great.
Good.
Yeah, people are great. They'll always step up and do what they can do.
Okay, I think,
Just need a very quick executive
Yep.
session.
okay, so, at this time, the committee will go into an executive session under Mass General Law 30A, Section 21, Paragraph 3, at 9:18 PM, and we will not return for open session.
Right.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. How do you guys feel about how it's like the school committees, like not the school committee, but